Squatch and Holler. Please like and subscribe.
And hit that bell.
Hey,
Good
how you doing,
evening.
Amanda?
I'm
Ashley,
good. How are you tonight, Roger?
good. Hope Ashley's not panicking. I didn't tell her I wasn't bring her out.
Oh no, she's good.
So everybody, I'm having sound issues. So everything I say is coming back at me. I'm gonna do the best I can. Everybody else seems to be okay. If I sound okay in chat, let me know.
Yeah, let
Um,
us know where he's getting feedback issues. I personally don't hear it on my end. So do you guys in the chat hear any kind of echo coming from Roger
just let
or
us
even me?
know. And we changed a few things, so it may be part of it. I think I did it earlier. But anyway, so tonight we're going to take a break from Bigfoot, and this just all worked out. You know how happy little accidents. When I thank you, Heather. Um, when I was younger, the Bigfoot subject was always lumped in with Loch Ness for some reason in the school books and the library books, and so we talk about Bigfoot for obvious reasons. I didn't realize there were people as excited as we are about other cryptids and legends. So Amanda happens to have a best friend, Ashley. She's on the West Coast, and they are Nessie fans. And I've been looking at pictures, and I'm jealous because they've actually gone and hunted Nessie. So,
hmm
can you want to your best friend? You want to introduce her?
Yeah, sure. So, yes, small world as most things are in the cryptid community. So, long before I worked at Expedition Bigfoot, Ashley and I have been friends for almost 10 years now, or actually going on 11 years, excuse me, sorry, loss of time. But anyway, we both always had a huge fascination with cryptids, and that was actually one of the linchpins in the building of our friendship. So, throughout my podcasting journey and my social media journey throughout this, we've been kicking around, bringing her on because, like I said, as much as an excited girly as I am when it comes to cryptid, Bigfoot and cryptids, she's the other half there with the Nessie stuff. So as much as I have dug into in my life and I have had experiences with Bigfoot, Ashley has actually had a water monster experience as a child. I'll let her tell that, as well as being deeply involved in Loch Ness Monster and other water monster research. So, Roger, if you want to go ahead and bring her on, we'll
Yeah.
let the crowd meet.
Is she ready? I know she's excited.
There she
Yeah.
is.
Hi, everybody.
It like 2 p.m. there or something? No, I'm kidding.
It's 5, yeah.
Uh,
We're all on different time zones, I think.
Yeah, we all three are in different time zones. I'm in Eastern time, so it's 8 o'clock here. I think you're in Central, Roger, right?
yes. So that that's still me being 54 years old. The technology where we just my lifetime from the 70s, what I've seen and the advances are crazy. But
I can
anyway,
imagine. It's been a crazy in just mine and Ashley's lifetime for sure. Can imagine for you
For
as
sure.
well.
so uh, Amanda, do you want to be in charge of pictures tonight?
Yeah, I can be in charge of pictures. Let
I
me
I,
get that up
I
here on
shared
my
the magic
side.
wand with her.
I'll let
So
you keep an eye on the comments since I can't see
okay,
it at the same time.
well, the one I want to show first is the fake. That the one that it's
Yeah.
always shown, and get that out of the way because people are going like, "Oh, that was proven to be a hoax."
The surgeon's photo.
Yeah,
Got it.
there you go.
There
So
she is.
that's what we all saw as young kids. And how long ago, Ashley, was that admitted to be a fake?
Now, admitted to be a fake, or when it was
Debunked, I guess.
debunked?
Yeah.
I believe definitively in the early or the late 70s, early 80s.
Okay.
Although there had been rumors about it being a fake for quite some time. And yes, like there's among Nessie enthusiasts, there is no doubt. Nobody's out there going, "Oh no, that's a real photo." We all know it's fake, a very well done fake. In
Right.
fact, it is funny because there's actually two pictures of the surgeon that accompany that particular photograph, and we always get this particular up close screenshot that makes it look like it doesn't really give you size and dimension, right? But the
Yeah.
actual photograph, which I don't have a good one with me, but it's actually scaled out quite a bit where it's almost I hate to say it, but it's really kind of more obvious that you're dealing with something quite small rather than quite big. And so like even back when this photo came out, there were some skeptical commentary around it. But I will say the one thing that I do love about this photo, fake or not, it this one particular photo has sparked so much interest, so much intrigue. It's the classic, iconic Loch Ness monster shape, and just because this one particular photo was a fake does not mean that there hasn't been more sightings and reports of very similar looking creatures um, that look like that too. So, I mean, I think hoax nonetheless, it's a beloved hoax. And I kind of popped this out just a little bit earlier, but as an enthusiast myself, I do actually that's the same photo. So I mean it's a fake, but it's a beloved fake.
Well, I wanted to get that out there because it's just like in Bigfoot. That's the first thing people go to. So we've got that out of the way. And to me, well, I think somebody had to see something and describe it for somebody to try to fake it.
Exactly, yeah,
Yep.
And so that's just my simple mind. But
for
um,
sure.
so I guess we usually ask the same type questions because what got you what got you interested in Nessie? Um, Amanda alluded to you having a water monster experience or whatever. So was that what happened?
Yes. It's a really weird hobby. It's like, oh, what kind of hobbies do you have? And it's like, oh, it's a really weird one. But as Amanda already said, it's one of the things that really kind of connected us and brought us together. It's like, oh, you like that? I like that. And it just kind of always took off. But I actually grew up in Washington State, and I'm currently in Washington State, which ironically is Bigfoot country, um, the PNW.
Right.
But but that being said, and I've said this quite a few times, Washington State has a lot of weird things. Bigfoot, Goatman, Dogman, Batswatch. Did I just say, yeah, Goatman? We even coined the term flying saucer. I mean, there's a lot of strange stuff here, and a lot of people think Loch Ness or Nessie is like its own individual thing. And what I don't think a lot of people realize is while she is the most famous, arguably she is the most famous, but by no means is she the only one. These creatures are reported all over the world in lakes, oceans. Uh, there's even been reports of stray creatures in rivers. Now, I'm not saying they're necessarily all the exact same thing, but I just think this world is so much bigger and stranger than we can even think. And so, that being said, I've always, from the time I was little, had a love for cryptids, paranormal, things like that. And I actually, most kids grow up watching Saturday morning cartoons, and I would get up early on Saturdays to watch the Discovery Channel because back in those olden days, that was the only time you could catch paranormal anything, between like 9 or noon or whatever on the weekends, because it wasn't mainstream. It was really niche. It was really like whatever you could find, old reruns of documentaries, in search of things like that. But um, yes, sorry.
No, you're good.
uh, when I was young, I spent a lot of time in a place called Lake Chelan. Beautiful. It's a 55-mile long glacier lake. I'm a total lake snob. It's crystal clear, beautiful water. I consider it in many ways my hometown, and so like I grew up on this lake. I learned to swim on this lake. I know that lake so well. And when I was little, I thought I had a sighting of a creature. Full disclosure, it was not real. I know what I saw now, but at the time when I was a kid, I was out with my family. I saw something, and I said, Grandpa, what's that? And he teased me, oh, you had a sighting of the monster, did you? And it's like, there's no monsters in this lake. And it's like, well, of Nessie, right? That's her cousin. And grandpas would never lie to their kids. And so it just sparked something in me. And all of a sudden, monsters are real. These things exist. There's these unknowns. And then now, once I became aware of it, um, I was just so hungry for whatever I could find on the subject matter. So I started to notice those TV specials or books in my library, or whenever there'd be news clippings or articles. Because, by the time those news stories get to us, like, a good photo or a good video or whatever, it's like we kind of get the scraps, right? But we do get some of it.
Yeah.
And it just, yeah. So Amanda, you often mention armchair investigator, and it's like
Yeah.
from the time we were both little, right? We just kind of dove into our
Yeah,
own.
you find what you can. Like for me, it was library books, exactly like you said, because up here in the mountains, we didn't have the internet until late, so that didn't exist until I was in high school. And so yeah, library books and unsolved mysteries and the Discovery Channel. That was all we had.
A
And
100%, yeah. And so,
it
um,
sounds like we all started basically the same way, um, because once you have an experience, you become that couch researcher, and
100%.
and and depending on where you're at, uh, like where you're at, everybody had access to Bigfoot researchers. There was nobody here, so
Hmm.
um, I understand. So,
Oh, for sure. And Amanda and I have touched upon this in our own private conversations, but it's also not something you really talk about to people, certainly not people your own age, and not very well with older people who might even know a thing or two, And so it's like, I've said this 100 times, like the things that I got bullied for and shoved into lockers for as a kid is like mainstream now. And I'm low key upset about it because now you talk to people and Bigfoot's mainstream. I mean, Nessie's mainstream. I mean, even if they don't believe in it or know too much about it, you can say the word Bigfoot and most people have some idea of what you're talking about. You can say Loch Ness Monster and most people, know what you're talking about. Back then, I mean, not as much.
well, depending on what culture you're from, like a lot of people are open, but where Amanda and I are, with the buckle of the Bible belt, you know, you liable to get chastised, beat, uh, embarrass the family, and they're like, "Don't speak of this." And but the stories were private, like you're talking about. But now
Yeah,
you're right with
yeah, anything on my side of the ridge here, it was all private. I think as I discussed in my episode, Roger, my family was a little bit different. They were open to
Mhm.
discussing these kind of subject matters because, as I said before, if they knew that God and Jesus was real, being here in the Bible Belt, the
Mhm.
devil was definitely real. So boogers, as we coin them down here, any kind, Bigfoot, lake monsters, big snakes, big cats, whatever, they were very open to discussing that. But again, it was also all kind of
Like within the
within just
home, right?
the home, or in just the church, the small church family. You know, it
Right.
wasn't discussed publicly for sure. I definitely couldn't discuss it in school with friends or anybody else. That's for darn sure.
Oh
Mm.
no. It's funny though, because like, just like I would say the same for you, Amanda, like the people who know me now as an adult, oh, I loud and proud, loud and proud. I don't hide that. Um, anybody who knows me knows, you know, I'm all about that Loch Ness. I have very strange home decor. I mean, any particular room in my house, there's something Nessie everywhere. I mean, clearly, like it's a it's a thing. So if you're passionate about something and you're passionate about something and it means something to you, regardless of what that is, I think that's what's the important thing, not necessarily the subject matter, because it's like, you get made fun of quite, and I know Amanda is similar, and probably you too, Roger. It's like, oh, you think you're gonna find the Loch Ness monster? You think you're gonna find it's we might. It's just
Yeah.
Yeah.
and talking to both of you here just the other day kind of about this and whatnot, I really just hope that somebody hears this, and even if they have a passing interest, like pursue it, pursue your interest. If it's something you're curious about, boots on the ground. I mean, the more the merrier. And I really do feel like there's this separation between Bigfoot, the Bigfoot camp and the Loch Ness camp. And not that I've ever met a mean Bigfoot researcher or anything, but there's kind of this rivalry, I think, and really it is two sides of the same coin. We're both looking for something, um, a, a mystery, whether that's a flesh and blood creature or more of the woo aspect. And I think again, a lot of people would be surprised just how similar the search for Bigfoot is as it relates to Nessie. And I just, for the audience, if any, for the people out there, using Nessie as a colloquial term, I mean, when I say Nessie, um, generally I mean all sorts of like monsters. You got Ogopogo, you got Champ, you got Saucy Bo Nessie. I mean, they're all over the place, honestly, all over the world. In fact, Amanda and I were just laughing at one in Japan we recently stumbled on here just a while ago. They're all over the place. So, but Nessie, generally speaking.
Well,
Same thing, but it's kind of a colloquial, all-encompassing term for a large bipedal, hair-covered man-like creature. So, same thing.
What? There's not just one roaming the entire country? No.
well,
Ugh.
look, I'm guilty of that. A lot of
That's a
people in chat my age are guilty of that. When I heard the term Bigfoot, it was where you live. It wasn't over here where I live. And
Mhm.
as reports came and it got closer to Arkansas, Rock, Arkansas, and all like that, it scared me as a people. You know what I mean? And not just me. And people still know when you talk about it, and they're not used to it. They're like, "Oh, he's over here now." No, wait a minute. There's more than one. So,
They're multiplying.
Yep. He's everywhere, he's everywhere.
but you know what I'm impressed with is not only did um, your interest, you followed your interest, you've reached out to people in Scotland and all over the world, and y'all have actually been there. I mean, this is not like reading in a book or whatever. Uh, that's impressive to me, and I'm a little jealous because like I said, it was always Nessie, the Bermuda Triangle, Bigfoot, and
Yes,
aliens.
Bermuda Triangle. Yes, that
Was
was
I the
always a
only
thing.
one terrified as a kid about the Bermuda Triangle? I just was like so terrified that
Yeah,
I'd be flying over it someday and just that would be the that'd be it, the end. You
yeah,
never
yeah.
Mhm.
And it's like the quicksand thing. Everybody says. I
yeah.
thought I'd be more. Uh,
Quicksand,
yeah,
yes.
like it's
Yes,
in every movie. I'm like
yeah,
always watching for it.
for
But
sure.
it's the mystery, ugh, the the mystery that captures our imagination and maybe our fear. So Uh, I guess me going out and after I saw the Bigfoot, now it's kind of facing my fear a little bit, and I'm learning a lot more. Don't necessarily need to fear it, and especially um, with some of the other things like you're talking about. I'm very interested in it, but now I'm older, it doesn't scare me as bad. So
There's a very fine line between a healthy fear and a healthy respect.
yeah, good
We're
question.
jumping right in with some good questions. I love it.
Wow, yeah, he's like, just get to the point. What is it?
What is
Well, this
that
is what
thing?
people ask when it comes to Bigfoot or other cryptids as well. So, and seeing as
Um,
Nessie is one of those other cryptids.
well, so first and foremost, there are no experts. We're all just a bunch of enthusiasts. We're all just a bunch of, speaking specifically for like the Nessie community. Um, it it's very hard to pin down. Unlike, like, I know the joke is, why are all the pictures of Bigfoot blurry? But hey, at least yours is all, above water. Like you can actually see the the mass that you're looking at. Um, so when I speak about this to anybody listening, it's my personal theories, my personal opinions. If there's some other opinion out there, like I'm not saying I'm right. In fact, prove me wrong. Like get out there and do your own research. I love being proven wrong on these things. These are all just my own personal thoughts and opinions. So take that for what it's worth. But whatever Nessie is, because we don't know for certain. It's not like I don't have one in a cage, in my backyard or my bathtub, but it's old. I think whatever they are, they're very old. In my heart, of course, we always want it to be like this friendly, magical kind of plesiosaur thing. And in my heart, that's kind of what she is, like what I hold on to. Um, the more childlike part of me, it's like, she's still a plesiosaur. But um, the thing I always like to remind people about Nessie is we deal with ancient creatures all the time that we take for granted. Sharks, alligators, crocodiles, those
Yeah,
deep sea underwater fish that look, alien in their own right. These are things that we take for granted because we've seen them, we know what they look like, we've tagged them, bagged them, but these things are very old, very, 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 very old. And some have changed over the time, or for lack of better wording, evolved over time, and some really haven't. And I don't think there's any reason to believe that Nessie can't be something similar. Maybe not a plesiosaur per se, but definitely an aquatic creature. I tend to lean towards more amphibious myself. Um, I think the day that we do find Nessie won't actually be deep in a lake. I think it will be on the shoreline. And I think a lot of people kind of miss that aspect. Everyone's looking in the water on the boats, and it's like, no, I think the shoreline um, is probably the better bet in my opinion. Um, so yeah, definitely something ancient and something amphibious and uh, neck to be determined. But
well, I'm gonna
Oh, sorry.
say
Go,
something here.
go ahead, Roger. You go first.
My my belief, by evidence I've seen on documentaries and stuff about the age of this planet, I believe our years are off. I believe so. With the way I believe that s- some of these things were created, and when I say Grand Canyon and stuff like that, and when you think dinosaurs, you think way back in history. I'm thinking closer to our time because of certain rocks and tracks we find.
for
Um,
sure,
the crocodile and alligator, they're perfect examples. They're dinosaurs, basically.
Hmm.
Heck, chicken running around. I'd hate to see a 30-pound chicken or 40-pound chicken, but I think this captures a lot of our imagination. And then when you dig into it after meeting you, then I'm like, wait a minute, there's people studying this, not just you see a show every now and then. There's people out there that's dedicating a lot of their time to try to prove this, just like what we do. So,
Oh, for sure. It's I mean, I don't mean to sound cliche, but
you're trying.
I don't mean to sound cliche, but it is true. We discover new creatures and species all the time. Every day, new things are being discovered. And I think we would be pretty full of ourselves to assume that there's nothing more to discover, or we've, you know, that we know everything. And I just think that's so dumb. I mean, one of my favorite things to think about as far as this particular topic is, the gorilla, for an example. There was a time when the gorilla was a myth.
Yep.
The platypus was not only a myth, but when one was actually presented, they thought it was a really bad taxidermy joke. Like,
Mhm.
these are, again, things and creatures that we take for granted, but it took brave people out there to get out there and explore and find these things and study these things. Um, I believe for a fact, I will die on this hill. Like, there is absolutely something in that lake. There's something in many different lakes that are all very similar reports. Um, what it is, I don't know. I just do believe that they're there. I have my own theory. I'm sure we can get into a little bit later. But Roger, I do want to touch upon something that you just said that's so important, because whether or not you want to get into the missing time theory, there's a lot of people who believe that we're missing 300 years from our history, that we're actually a lot, um, we're not as far along in the timeline, so to speak. But, from a biblical standpoint, like you, like Amanda, I myself am a Christian woman. I saved by the grace of God, or Christ rather. And I think a lot of people get uncomfortable with that, because how do you reconcile those two things? How do you reconcile the paranormal with God? And one of the reasons why I was so excited to do this show was to help kind of maybe bridge that gap. I'm not saying you have to be religious to appreciate any of this. No, but it all does go hand in hand. One of the big examples of that is, outside of Loch Ness and water monsters. Uh, I don't know if it specifically fits in the cryptid camp, but for lack of better wording, another part of that cryptid camp are people in search of actual dinosaurs. There are reports of dinosaurs still living today. I mean, Amanda, you've had your own what possibly could have been a pterodactyl sighting.
Mhm.
We're not certain on that. You've never claimed 100% it's a pterodactyl. It just
Yeah, I
looks
don't
like
know what it was, just know what it looked like. And
what it,
actually I think Roger, I think it might be Harley Owens who's putting out there, so was or somewhere on one of the Bigfoot things on Facebook about looking at different dinosaur witnesses. Same way that
Yeah.
I decided to come public with mine. I wanna say maybe it's him, but anyway, yeah, it's kinda funny you bring that up, Ashley. Like I said, I literally just saw that, like, today. Somebody was posting, "Hey, if you've had a dinosaur experience or seen something like that, reach
Well,
out."
did somebody
y'all.
say synchronicity?
Well, in third grade or so, one of my good friends came to school after the weekend, probably 1977, and said, "Y'all, I saw a pterodactyl." And I'm like, "What?" He said, "Flew right over the house. It was a monster." He said, "It's huge." And went to the book, showed us, and he said, "That's exactly what it looked like." So we laughed at him, forgot about it for 25 years. Then I saw that Monster Quest where the Thunderbirds, or maybe it was Monster Quest, the Thunderbirds, how they followed the front, and a lot of them were seen, and it was for the right time, and it was the same time, and we were in that path for him to see one. Then we got David Blaylock that watches the show. He helps out. He lives in wait a minute, Oregon. Uh, he
Still
swear he
P&W,
saw
still
one.
count.
He said he lives Coos Bay area, and he said he saw one. So I don't know.
You got raptor sightings in Texas. You got the really famous now I can't say it, Michele and Bembe. Um, there's a lot of, um,
We have done it.
we have art pieces, we have pottery, we have Native American accounts. I, you know, personally believe that there wasn't much, if at all, any separation in the timeline between people and dinosaurs.
Mhm.
I know that makes me sound crazy. I'm obviously not an archaeologist. I'm not even a historian. I do believe that, again, this world is stranger than we could possibly know. So
Mhm.
the reason why I did want to bring that up, or rather jump on your coattails, Roger, because that's a great point, is there's a lot of good evidence or arguments to suggest that humans and dinosaurs were actually together. In fact, Amanda, you might know better than I. I'm trying to remember. There was, I think it's in Texas. I could be wrong. I have Texas on the brain for some reason, but those footprints that are side by side
Yes.
with the,
Yes,
uh,
about 99% sure it's in Texas. Yeah, there's dinosaur footprints alongside human footprints as mud fossils in
yeah,
the old riverbed. They're side
exactly.
by side.
So to say that, we don't have a few of these things floating around, I will say too, I keep getting lost in my own point because it's like, it's so exciting. You want to go down this trail and that trail and that trail as
Hey,
far
Yeah,
as talking points.
welcome to
But
our show.
like I said, we're just as Roger says, we're just sitting on the porch sipping sweet tea and talking cryptids. So.
Well,
exactly,
can I
yeah,
make a point? So, from when I was growing up, teenager, whatever, the world got bigger because we lived in a small community. The communication was slower, the travel was slower. It got bigger. Internet, it got huge. Now everybody's sitting on the couch on the internet, and the world got small again. So you're not out there where you might experience something, and people that their habits of working back and the grocery store and back and maybe to the park and do that to Florida once a year. You've got this small condensed world, and there's a lot of very unexplored area in this world,
Mhm.
and it's 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 hard to wrap your head around once you see some of these forests, or if you go out west, and where you're at, actually, I can only imagine how much area that's unexplored. So that's
Yeah.
I'll let you talk.
no, you're right. It's
Oh,
it's it's pretty big out here, and there's lots to explore, and no end to whatever paranormal interest you might have out here. But I will say, it's interesting to me because I feel like there seems to be quite a few more outspoken Christians researching for dinosaurs. And I think kind of what we were just talking about to kind of bridge that
Mhm.
gap to kind of prove. In fact, Amanda, if you don't mind, not going into a lot of detail, but you and I just had the pleasure not too long ago to go to the Creation Museum out there in
Yes.
Tennessee, and we caught it right on time for this one, not that it was planned. We were pleasantly surprised and shocked about all of the dinosaur. It just so happened to be
Yeah,
a
it
special,
was right when you walked in the door too.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking for a photo of it, and unfortunately, I'm not seeing it, but that's okay. So, yeah, we'll
sorry.
keep talking. Yeah, so there was a really fascinating, display at the Creation Museum in Kentucky when Ashley and I went, what, 2 years ago now? Yeah, and
Oh,
as
has it
soon
been
as you
that
walked.
long?
I know, right? So, as soon as you walked through the door, the first thing it started talking about was, dinosaurs,
Drag.
dragons, sea serpents, all that stuff, and, like, the biblical how it connects, history of it. I can't remember the famous is it king or so it's like that supposedly fought a dragon, and it's in all the artwork and everything. Anyway, they, like, had biblical stuff for it, and
Hmm.
on top of historical stuff, so and
Yep.
then the same thing with Nessie, actually, that's a good segue, isn't one of the earliest, in accounts of the Loch Ness Monster, um, was it in the 600 or something? Was it
Oh,
what?
Saint Columba.
Thank you, I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
could not think of the name. Yeah,
Hmm.
so why don't you share that account with us?
oh gosh, I'm gonna butcher it, but yeah,
Just the basics.
yeah, St. Columba and a group of his men were stationed out somewhere in the loch. If where known, I don't know specifically where. A lot of people say around Urquhart Castle, but I mean that's what I would say too if I was telling the story. But anyway,
Right.
they're stationed by the lake. He sends one of his guys out into the lake to do what escapes me at the moment, but the a creature of great size and was very mad about that and was attacking this young man in the water. And St. Columba went up and rebuked this creature in the name of God and shooed him away, essentially, and supposedly cast it not necessarily out of the lake, but from their area. And so, from the research that I did, I'm sure somebody's going to be in the comments and be like, "Well, actually," and please do, please do, because we're all just, we're not professionals here, but the particular myth or story that I heard was there's a barrier around the edge of the loch to prevent the creature from like getting too close to the shoreline. Like its home is in the center of the lake, but not to come towards the shoreline, which ironically, one of the more recent, or how do I say that? When Nessie, the sightings of Nessie really took off in the late 30s and early 40s, one of the very noteworthy sightings was actually seeing an unknown creature on land by a couple by the last name Spicer. They were on a motorbike. It was sometime in the summer, and they saw this creature, and they described it, and it was in the middle of the road right next to the loch. So whatever St. Columba did obviously didn't work, but that's that's what the that's what the story was anyway.
Are
Not to
are
mention what
most of
Aleister
the
Crowley could have
sightings?
turned up around
Oh,
there either.
Sorry.
girl, we'll get into that. Trust me. That's
Are so the history of sighting, is it 50-50 water on land or mostly in the water?
well,
Do you
so
know?
yes and no. That's a great question. The difference with that is depending on what monster you're talking about. Because again, it's not just Nessie.
Right.
I would say I think it would surprise people how many reports of specifically Nessie are actually out of the water. I think people, your average Nessie or person who's heard of Nessie would be like, what? But they do happen quite a bit. Um, I would think next to that, there's been a few Ogopogo sightings outside of water. Again, this is one of those things that lead me to amphibious type
Mhm.
creatures, whether they're looking for food, breeding grounds, something. I'm not sure, but uh, to definitively answer that question, I would say I do think most of them are in the water, but certainly most every single of those creatures do have something outside, reported outside of the water as well.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually didn't know about Ogopogo being sighted outside of water, so that's something new even for me.
The thing that I- the thing that I really appreciate about Ogopogo specifically, which I'm like not even 2 hours away from Ogopogo. I go up there quite often, and Amanda, I know you're kind of similar. You're driving by a patch of woods or something, or even out in the woods, you're kind of always vigilant. And likewise, it's like looking at a body of water, just like got
Mhm.
my eye on you. But one of the things about the Ogopogo accounts that I absolutely love is in fact the Native American histories behind it, whether they're oral traditions, artifact traditions, cave drawings, pottery,
Mhm.
whatever. Um, I can't remember if it was on your show, Roger. Um, you forgive me. I take in a lot of paranormal content, so if this wasn't you, I apologize. But if you take into Native American historical reportings, you know, they're very in tune into the real world, whether that's animals, plants, nature in general. It wasn't very typical to put things that didn't exist into their drawings and their artwork and their storytelling. So you have
Mhm.
creatures that look like Bigfoot, in their art. You have things that um I don't know if Thunderbird's the right term, because that could very well just be a giant bird versus maybe a pterodactyl. But I'm just saying they were putting these things into their culture because I think because they were seeing them. And the same can be
Mhm.
said for Ogopogo, being up here in, well, technically British Columbia. So Lake Okanagan is in Canada, British Columbia, Canada. And many of the same Native American tribes are both here in the States as well as in Canada. And there's accounts, there's stories, there's literature, there's oral traditions. And so it's like I don't think those are bits of evidence that should be not taken seriously. I mean, if anything, more like honestly, more seriously. They account for a lot, actually.
Yeah, because it's not edited. It's been there a while.
It's been there a
And,
while,
Yep.
yeah.
and if I see
Exactly.
one of those, maybe not think much about it. But if you keep repeating over and over and over and over in different areas, and it's the same shape, then I'm going with it 100%. But that's just me.
I agree.
Um, Amanda, do you have the Sandra Mancy photo?
That's the Lake Champlain one, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I can pull that up real quick.
So
There it is.
this is random. Sorry, guys. My headspace is the most random thing ever. So as we're talking about this, I was thinking. So this is a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. This is the famous Sandra Mancy photo, Lake Champlain, Vermont. They have their own very famous lake monster, nicknamed Champy. And this photo was taken, I want to say, I can't ever remember. It was either again the late 70s or early 80s. But the reason why I love this photo is because as we were just talking not too long ago about the Loch Ness having that classic plesiosaur shape, I had
Mhm.
made mention that by no means, I mean, or I guess what Roger was saying specifically, like we wouldn't get that shape out of nowhere. We didn't just pull that out of our ears. And
Mhm.
so when we have photographic evidence like this, it also reminded me, if you guys can see, she took this photo from the shoreline in a cove. And what you can see in the background, like how close it is to the other side of the shore as well. Presumably these are fairly shallow waters. Again, kind of feeding into that amphibious idea of mine that shallower, maybe warmer waters are where
Mhm.
they are, but that kind of classic shape. The reason why I bring this up is, and Amanda, you're probably going to laugh at me because this is actually something that like personally made me kind of upset. The one thing I think too is how similar all these places look. Um,
Yes.
Lake Okanagan and Ogopogo looks remarkably like Scotland, which was
Yeah.
very, very disappointing to me, but also kind of fun and great and wonderful.
Well,
And
now that you mention it, they're all very long, narrow, deep lakes.
yes, hmm
So
yes,
yeah, that's
exactly.
interesting. Putting all those pieces together.
Um, so full disclosure, I've never been to Vermont. I do plan on going to Vermont sometime in the future, hopefully with you, Amanda, and spending a weekend doing our own little
Mhm.
um, Ogopog or champ research. Um, but preparing for this kind of video, I was kind of refreshing on different things and looking at the geography and the um, like the satellite imagery too, and just whatever for Vermont as well. It's again very similar type of landscape, which is, I'm not saying it means anything, but I'm not saying it doesn't mean anything either. So
You know,
Gotta look at all the context clues, right?
yeah, honestly, just every little bit is a piece of evidence. You just got to figure out where it fits in the puzzle.
y'all, with that
Um,
picture that you just showed when got bigger. To me, just personally, I could almost see brow over the eye because it's so pronounced, and the indention and it just jumped out at me. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know. And I'm thinking back of illustrations maybe that I've seen in my past that uh, I've never seen that picture blown up like that. That was amazing. Do you
And
have
that's
a,
kind of
uh
interesting
friend in
that you
chat here, actually? Lady Wicked?
Hi.
But
that's actually
um,
interesting that you mentioned that the picture you saw, Roger, you picked that up. I just thought of interesting because I know I always play around with like AI imagery and stuff like that. In both of us was trying to make a thumbnail for this particular episode, for a Loch Ness monster, and even artificial intelligence, the first image that it pulls up and picks up is automatically something with a long serpentine neck. So I don't know. I find that I'm just sitting here and all of a sudden that light bulb went off. I'm like, wow, even AI knows that. That's kind of interesting.
No such thing as coincidences.
Exactly. No such thing as coincidences
and,
at all.
and y'all in chat, um, y'all know we're mainly Bigfoot, but I've always said I want to explore different things,
Mhm.
and it's the same. They're Ashley and her friends are going through the same thing we are. Uh, can you imagine if you saw if you went to Scotland and you actually had an encounter with Nessie and then had to come back and tell all of us about it? You know, it'd be the same thing
Right.
all over again. But anyway,
So let's see. What other pictures do we have here? So why don't we start? Um, so I'll share a little bit with the chat here. So again, as I mentioned, Ashley is my best friend. So her and I and my husband, we all got the chance to go to Scotland and visit Loch Ness in 2019. And of course, if we're going to Scotland, we're gonna go to Loch Ness because, as an American growing up, that like we've discussed, that was all you ever saw on, TV was about Scotland. It was the Loch Ness Monster. So it was very a big deal for the two of us and my husband to go and visit.
And to
So
be fair, that first trip was just kind of a
it was
vacation.
definitely it was total vacation. So we had no plans and of,
That
doing
particular
quote
wasn't
unquote actual
necessarily
research or anything. It literally was just a vacation and just fun. And all both of us all thought at that time that that would be our one and only
it.
trip. Because
Yeah,
let's
once in
be
a
let's be real.
lifetime.
Money isn't exactly grown on trees around here for everybody.
Yeah,
So I'll pull up a couple pictures here that she pulled up or has here. So this is her and I. This is one of our favorite pictures of her and I on one of the tours there with our bestie shirts with a Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster.
best friends
And
forever.
best friends forever. And this is one of the many plaques that they have along the highway right there. Do you remember what the number of the highway is there, Ashley? I don't remember off the top of my head, but it was made and when that highway was put in the
Yeah,
30s, which they think had a lot to do with the increased sightings of Loch Ness, or excuse me, the Loch Ness Monster.
for sure. And I do want to point out to Amanda's comment earlier and what I was alluding to. If you guys can see in that drawing there or illustration, that long, narrow, deep aesthetic there of the lake.
Oh
It's
yeah.
yeah. I also do like, not that this is really neither here nor there, but I also really do like, a lot of people feel there's a few people out there who believe that the Nessie sightings became more prominent in the kind of the early 40s, like the late 30s, early 40s, because of the construction happening with the roads and whatnot. Like, what did it wake up something? Did it disturb something? Just all those little bits and pieces add to the story. That's really fun. I personally don't have a say either or. I think that it is an interesting little tidbit that there was a spike in sightings around that time, but
Which
just like
is
in the
kind of
big,
the same way with the same way with Bigfoot, it was a spike in stuff in the 50s because of all the logging and then making more roads and highways through those areas in the Pacific Northwest, which they
Well,
believe
I would
caused a
think
lot of sightings.
naturally, uh, if you're building something, there are more people in the area and they're staying in
Mhm.
different spots. And then, like with the water creature and all that vibration, it's like, what are y'all doing? like,
yeah,
like, what,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. What is going on? Like, um, um, me and being out in the woods, Roger, animals are curious. Deer will come out and poke around and be like, "What is that noise?" If they see or hear something they're not supposed to. So I try to build up the story for all of that so that way, Ashley, you can delve into how in the world
dive
you
into
got a second chance to go back to Scotland and become an official part of a Loch Ness Monster research group. So if you'll start from the beginning, I can pull up anything, any pictures or anything you want.
Thank you. I will say this though, like this is one of my biggest pet peeves is the thought of searching for Nessie or any of her kin, whatnot. Like, well, I was out on a boat for 5 hours and I didn't see nothing. And it's just like, okay, well, you're on a loud boat with propellers and making noise and causing waves. I wouldn't want to go up to you either. Like,
Yeah.
it's not exactly a safe place for, ancient sea creatures to come up to you or whatever. But anyway, so that's actually a really good segue because being the cryptid nerd that I am, I'm often in taking media wherever I can, YouTube, podcasts, whatever. And she is a legend.
I'm
um,
just
but
me.
we got to be careful, or else our bestie nerdisms are going to slip out. But
you're
anyway,
fine.
Right, right.
I promise you.
focus. Um, so it was just a random day. I was cleaning the house. I went to go put on a podcast. Of course, my favorite subject matter, just looked up Loch Ness and I found one. Um, Shout out to Andy McGrath. He's the host of Weird Britain. Really good friend of mine and of other people who will come into the story here in the near future. In fact, hold on. I came prepared. Uh,
Oh,
Andy's wrote a
awesome.
few. Wait, I can't tell if the screen's flipped, whatever. But shout out to Andy. Beastly Theories. I saw you put it up there, Amanda. Um, and it was just literally, I didn't know who he was. I didn't know anything. I just saw Loch Ness Monster, hit play, went to cleaning my house. I literally stopped um, probably within 15 minutes of listening to this, whatever I was doing. I messaged Amanda and I'm like, hey, I sent it to her. I'm like, I don't know.
I remember.
Maybe this gets really dumb at the end. I don't know, but I'm 15 minutes in, and this is the best podcast on the subject I have ever heard. It's two guys, Andy McGrath, of course, and the legendary Alan McKenna, who I know he's not watching this now because he's actually they're in Scotland right now, not on the right time zone, but he'll tune in later, I'm sure. But so Alan, who's a now really good friend of mine, he is the founder of the Loch Ness exploration project specifically for the search of Loch Ness, but also the uh, awareness of Loch Ness as a ecosystem, as its own kind of well, I guess ecosystem is the right word, but anyway, so they talked about different points. It wasn't a rather exciting interview. It wasn't anything like super necessarily groundbreaking in what they were saying, but they were talking on points that meant something to me, things that I've discussed with Amanda or, other few people who I could talk to about the subject. Example, the noises that the boats make and how, that's probably more of a deterrent than anything. And just little things like that. And I was so impressed. And at the very end of the episode, there was a, hey, you have any plugs? And Alan just so happened to have just an email, like, yeah, if anybody's interested, here's my email. And I took the time. I reached out and I wrote him this novel of an email, like, hey, explained who I was, that I was passionate about this and a fan of Loch Ness, and certainly Scotland in general. Like, just huge love in my heart for all things Scottish and Nessie and all that. And to my surprise, he wrote back, and very thoughtfully, very thorough. He wrote back and he answered some of the questions I had, and he encouraged me, and just thought it was so cool that somebody in the States would even care. I don't think they realize that Nessie's not just their thing. Like, she does mean a lot to a lot of people, even all the way over here. And so I reached out. He reached out back, and he actually sent me, or invited me to a bunch of groups online, Facebook groups. They're not super secret. Anybody can join these groups, but it's so funny how something can be kind of right under your nose, and just getting that invite in, and all of a sudden I'm now talking to people who, big names in this community, that I've known and looked up to and grew up with, and like, talk to my heart's content about something that is so important to me. And it was just wonderful. And there's a few different groups and whatnot, but still all the same through line of subject matter. So it was great. And Alan had then put on, with collaboration with the Loch Ness Research Center itself, a completely different entity, but what was called the Quest. And that was in, I believe, 2023, early summer of 2023. And at the time, it was the largest search inquiry for the Loch Ness Monster in well over 50 years. This thing was huge. It made global news, um, brought in people from all over the world. And I had the privilege of being there from afar. I managed some cameras, I did some press and some interviews, and was just kind of a part of it as much as I could be from Washington State, but it was great. It had a blast, got to meet with the team. It was wonderful. Didn't think anything of it. The following year, it happened again. Now, to be fair, and I'll probably get a message from Alan later, I'm still not clear if it was always intended to be an annual thing, or if it just was such a popular, well done event that they just kept doing it. So the second one came around, and I was invited to be a part of it, and directly for me to be there, a part of it. And boy, I dropped everything. I scrambled, because as Amanda said, I already got to go to Scotland with my best friend. Like, I thought that was the once in a lifetime opportunity. And after discussing it with my own family, like, hey, I have this opportunity. I know it's really short notice. And everybody riled around me and supported me in doing this. I mean, everybody, it was wonderful. And so I got to go do that. And I feel like I'm talking too much. So maybe somebody wants to put in a question in
No,
there.
no, you're sharing you're sharing it with us. So that's what I want you to share.
You're,
Like I said, I hear it all the time because I live it as your best friend. Roger doesn't know it, so I want him to hear it,
we're,
as well as the people in the comments section, the people who'll be watching this. Because, like I said, what you've got to do is any cryptid researcher's dream,
Oh,
to be truly invested and be involved in a huge global research project. I mean,
yeah,
that's literally living a dream.
for
no,
sure.
I was thinking, like, if Amanda or I one got phone calls from 2 or 3 different people, and I won't mention any names, but we would probably drop everything and head out too, because it's
It
just when you grow up, and some of these first people that you start listening to, you feel connection even though you don't know them, and then when you meet them and you find out they're good people and they don't mind sharing, that had to be like you had to be on cloud nine the whole trip.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's a really great community to be a part of. And as I told you guys kind of behind the scenes, one of the things
I'll go ahead.
about doing this is like I remember what it was like for me when the baby steps, if you will, of this I just want to find a podcast because I want to listen to something that I'm interested in. Okay.
Mhm.
Wow, this is a really good conversation. This is really good. And I got some time on a whim. I'll send this just one thing after the next, because Amanda could tell I am not a shy person. I'm very much a social person. I'll introduce myself, I'll talk to people, and um, but that joy you feel when you find people who want to talk about the same things or have an interest in the same things, and yes, for the umpteenth time, I love all things paranormal, all things cryptid. We can talk about Nessie, Bigfoot, Goatman, Mothman, Glimmerman, UFOs. I mean, that's a normal Tuesday for Amanda and I. Like we could talk about all cryptids and
Mhm.
paranormal this. I mean, I personally like one of my favorite theories behind Nessie is that she's actually a tulpa. I love that theory because I feel
That is
like
a great theory.
it's again, it's not necessarily the one I personally hold on to and believe per se, but it's one of my favorite theories. I do like that. So again, all things cryptid and paranormal, but Nessie specifically has always been the first and foremost in my heart. So to find those people who can come at it just as passionately, and not only passionately, but bring the science and the evidence and the enthusiasm to find that evidence is um was just wonderful. And from the minute I got there, like I said, my whole family, my friends, everybody riled behind me to make sure that I got to Scotland the second time. I was so excited and nervous, but excited to go do this thing. I was by myself, and it was just this big adventure to do something that I literally dreamed of doing since I was 5 years old. I mean, I've told this story before, and Amanda, you've already heard all my stories, but like
Mhm.
I remember in third grade doing a report about how I was going to be a cryptozoologist when I grew up. Nobody knew what that word was. I was going to get in a yellow submarine with Mr. Adrien Shine and go find Nessie, and it's like, who? Like, who is that? What is this? So
Speaking of
flash
that, let me
forward.
pull him up right there.
Yes, yes, Adrian, yes.
I
Um,
saw him on a documentary, but he was a
I'm
younger
sure
man.
you did.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've remembered him myself from documentaries as well. So when we were at the Loch Ness Center when I was there with Ashley in 2019, of course his picture was up and everything. I was like, "Oh my God, that's the guy!
That's
That's
the
the guy from the
guy.
documentaries."
And I mean, literally every single documentary, this guy is in anything and everything Nessie related.
He's the Dr. Meldrum of the Bigfoot world, except
Mm,
for he's Adrian Shine how do I say that? He is what Dr. Meldrum is for Bigfoot, but for Adrian Shine is for Nessie. Sorry if I'm
yes,
speaking for you. I was trying
no,
to
that
put
makes
it and
sense.
it didn't come out
That
right.
makes sense.
no, 100%. You are exactly 100%. He's that guy. And um, yeah, no, he's a legend. And I will say, uh, Amanda and I, when we were in Scotland in our trip, we tried very hard. We had a list of people Shane and Amanda were very kind enough to give me like a couple of days out of this long vacation to get all the Nessie stuff out of my system. And so I planned this whole itinerary of the things we were going to hit, whether that was another local legend, Steve Feltham. Hi, Steve.
Yeah, hi Steve.
Hi, Steve. Um, Adrian Shine. Yeah. So Amanda, can I segue? Roger, can I segue? Can I tell him the really quick story about the
Ashley,
fun awkwardness of meeting Steve?
this is your
Yeah,
show. Ashley, I'm in class.
So
Go on. You're fine.
so,
planning this.
I'll cut off real quick in the comments. Shannon, wherever it is, apparently her daughter is about to have a baby. So everybody in chat has
Congratulations.
been,
Yeah,
so congratulations to
and
her. Absolutely. I
and
wanted to
Sharon,
make sure I made that
Sharon,
public.
Sharon is in Belgium, y'all. She watches from
Oh,
the same room.
wow.
All the way in Pennsylvania.
Wow, that is amazing, Sharon. Awesome. Thank you for joining. So,
Yes,
there's
praying for a
this.
happy, healthy baby. That's a wonderful.
All right. So here is so this picture is from my first yeah, our trip, not your trip per
Our
se.
trip.
But yeah, I'll let you tell the story behind this because it is just that was a great day.
That was a highlight, and that was kind of near the end, at the tail end.
Yep.
I think of our trip, if I'm remembering correctly.
It was at the very
Um,
tail end of the trip. We actually reached out to him by email there at nessiehunter.com because his information is public. So it I hope there's people out here who why don't you first tell them who Steve Feltman is for those of who may not know?
so Steve is also a legend in his own right, and again, if you've ever seen a documentary, read an article, looked up a YouTube video, Steve is one of those faces that is just so synonymous with Loch Ness. And paraphrasing here, but his big claim to fame was in the 80s, he had a sighting of his own and thought, well, that's it. I'm going to sell all my worldly possessions. I'm going to just camp here and I'm going to be the person who definitively proves, finds whatever the Loch Ness monster. And that was in the 80s. He, like I said, he had already had a really good sighting. And he sold everything. He quit his job. There's rumors that he even had a girlfriend at the time, but anyway, he got this great little camper on the shores of and I know it's indoors. I just don't for the life of me remember what the little beach is called, but
I don't
um
remember. It maybe just be Doors Beach if I remember. I don't remember.
yeah, it was next to the Doors Inn, the little for sure. But anyway, so he's been there. He's been there for 30 something years. He's in the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest continuous vigilance for this creature. He's a legend. He's a and it's to be said, he's a tourist attraction. I mean, he's very well known, and um, I really wanted to meet this guy, and so planning this trip, which took us months to plan, by the way, I sent him an email like, oh, coming all the way from America, my best friend and I were so excited, trying to arrange this meeting. And it's so funny. I don't know if it's just a cryptid celebrity thing or if it's just the difference in how Americans process celebrity versus maybe Europeans. But to me, in our world, he's a big deal. That's Steve Feltham. Like that's a huge deal. And so I thought it was going to be this whole thing of trying to, arrange to meet him, and he gets back to me just like, okay, cool, I'll be at my little hut, see you soon, kind of thing. Like,
He's like, "Yeah, I'm here most days. Yeah, just just
yeah,
just swing on by."
yeah,
Like it was no big deal. Like we didn't need to, plan anything with his agent or anything like that to
yeah,
try to meet him. It was just like he's like, "Yeah,
exactly,
sure, whatever." Just a normal guy.
just a
Hey,
normal guy.
Mike Troiana is from California, and Mike, I was just testing to see if I could fix this audio on my end, and it didn't work. So y'all go ahead.
But it's funny because I was so excited for the trip, didn't think anything of it, kind of kept moving on. Day of, we show up, and it's like I remember talking to a man like, I think we can just show up. I mean, I just and so, okay, let's go and we come up. I know I was fangirling, and Amanda was trying to be my anchor. I'm fangirling. We're walking up. There's the lock. There's Steve. I, and it's just like, oh my goodness, you're Steve Feltham. I'm so excited to meet you. And the look on this poor guy's face was like,
His
where are the hidden
face.
cameras? He just could not understand why these two ladies would just be on his beach and treating him like he was a celebrity. And we had to explain to him, like, no, in our world, you are.
Yeah,
And
you could tell like he was just kind of waiting for like a hidden camera to come out from behind a bush somewhere or something. And so
So
yeah, we got to talking to him and explain like she said, explaining the situation to him, and then he started opening up more about the loch and his story, and I shared my Bigfoot stuff with him, and you shared some of your stuff, and we had a good conversation for what, like 30
He
minutes
sat
to an
down.
hour or so. Yeah.
Yeah, he sat down and talked with us. And once he realized that, when I say serious, I mean, obviously we weren't like stern or anything, but just we really wanted to pick his brain, and this meant something to us. And he gave us lots of time, and was just so nice, and gave us some behind the scenes and some, well, have you tried going here, go there, do there, recommendations, both in terms of like Nessie things and just touristy things, and just an upstanding guy. And this is a joke, guys. I don't necessarily, I'm not saying anything, and I don't know anything, but like, I have a theory that if there ever was the smoking gun, it's Steve knows. I think there's too much of a twinkle in his eye for him not to
Oh,
not to.
yeah. If you've been living on the shores for what is it, 30 something years now, I
Yeah,
think, or 30 or
yeah,
40, something like that. Yeah.
So,
He's seen and knows things.
he knows
so,
things. Yeah,
so
yeah.
just a second. Do you happen to know off the top of your head how much shoreline in miles and how deep the loch is?
Uh, I believe it's 22 miles long, and I'm sure somebody in the comments is going to look it up. I believe it's 22 miles long. It is the
Spell it.
largest. It is the largest body of water in the UK. Like it's hands down the largest body of water. Um, and for the life of me, I can't tell you how deep it is. I get my lake measurements kind of jumbled up in my
Yeah.
head, but well, it's deep. It's extremely deep. And one of the things that is interesting about the loch is the shape of it is very unique. It's not like, I mean, it is kind of bathtub-esque, but it has these super sharp inclines down where you really can't, there's certain areas where you can't even wade into the water. It's just, it's,
Straight off.
yeah.
Is
It's,
is it is it true that it used to be connected to the ocean, or do they think it still might be, or under
yeah.
underneath?
Oh, so, uh, oh, I gotta tread carefully. Uh, a lot of people who I work with really despise the tunnel theory, and I'm not entirely sure why, other than um, maybe they feel like there's no grounds for it, or maybe they feel like they would have found it by now. You know, I'm honestly not sure, but I still kind of like the tunnel theory. And if not even for Scotland specifically, I do think that it's a valid theory, especially here in the States, that again, until proven wrong, I think any theory is as good as any other. But
Well,
I
just a layperson that's like read about it a little bit. I've heard arguments. Well, you're going from salt water to, I'm assuming, fresh, right?
yeah,
So, and then that can't happen. Then you find out somebody gets bit by a bull shark in the river in Ohio. So then you start looking at the bull shark and find out what they can do. So once
Mhm.
I find stuff in nature, then I'm like, well, there's- why couldn't this thing do that? I mean,
oh for sure. And in fact, the River Ness actually does connect into Loch Ness, and this loch just means, layman's terms, it just means lake. I mean, it's the closest thing. So Loch Ness is Lake Ness, you know, so to speak. But um, I'm sorry, I get distracted kind of reading these comments.
you're
I do the same thing as well when I'm doing these, so no big deal.
Amanda was on the show the other night with uh, Bob Dizzle. I showed up to kind of support, and I was distracted. Well, I'm gonna leave
Plus,
so
you
they
were
can
super
talk.
distracted, and you're like popping little comments in there for me. And then there was one night the comment section went completely unhinged, and then we've had trolls. So yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. I was watching for that one.
Um,
Um,
y'all go ahead. Sorry.
can I actually know, I actually know somebody in the comments. Can I shout somebody out? Is that okay?
Yes, yes.
Absolutely. Who is it?
Hi, hi, Talisha. I know you're there. I saw you earlier, but I wasn't sure if I was allowed to say hi. So, hi, Talisha.
You do anything you want to. I know the guy that does on the show. So.
I don't even know where we were, but
well, we're
so
talking the river water and
oh yeah, the rivers, yeah. A lot of what another thing a lot of people don't know is Scotland has more than one water monster. They actually have another lesser famous one called the Morag, if I'm saying that correctly. I unintentionally put a little bit of accent on there. We would say the Morag, like meh, but the Morag, if I'm saying that correctly. Thank you, Mike. I always say about 700, and I know that it's give or take, but thank you. You have a really amazing audience, by the way. Like, I think that's wonderful.
we have some smart people in here.
But yeah, the Morag, and it's definitely sightings there too, and it's whether or not it's the same creature or a similar like creature. A lot of people believe that Nessie was basically trapped in the loch as the land masses formed out of the ocean, that it adapted from an ocean life. And that's where you get like these, plesiosaur concepts, or, other dinosaur-esque concepts. And that's kind of what happened. And um, there's also my second favorite theory is a giant eel, which I don't think that would be disappointing. I feel like a lot of people like, oh, it was a giant eel. That'd be kind of disappointing. I'm like, I don't think so. I mean, an eel that big, like that would be kind of interesting.
Ashley, have you ever heard the theory between the eels and the aliens being aliens?
Is that similar to I've heard similar about octopuses and squids. Is it in the same vein?
Just Google that or drop that. Just exactly what I said, because it gets really deep, and I think you'll like it if you hadn't. And y'all, my glasses are crooked. My other
A little
throat
bit.
drive me crazy. But anyway, no, just Google Amanda. Also, there's a theory because of supposedly eels don't have any reproductive organs, and like they come from particular places, and they don't
Really?
breathe. Yeah. Well, just look it up.
Oh, that's a rabbit hole. I think, well, and that's one of the things, like the ocean might as well be deep space. I mean, if there's ever alien life proven, it's coming from the ocean, whether it's um oh, you spelled it right enough. I know what you were saying. Yeah, that's that's okay.
Yeah, even autocorrect won't help me when I try to spell out plesiosaur. So yeah, we're all in the same boat.
But
And I was going to mention too, a couple of years ago, or within the last year or 2 years, there's a video that came out on the internet of not a great white, a killer whale. Was it in Lake Morag, or was it in Lake Loch Lomond? It was like it was somewhere there. Was it supposed to be? And all of a sudden, there's this massive ocean critter, for lack of a better word, in this loch. It wasn't supposed to be.
It happens, and as Roger pointed out, I mean, especially on the East Coast, you get a lot of sharks in rivers that like how dolphins in I want to say like the Brazil area, but they ocean critters can get into freshwater places a lot easier than I think people realize. But yeah, squids, giant squids, which again, just like Nessie, were once thought of as being a cryptid or an exaggerated sailor's tale. We know they exist. We've seen them. We found them. They're on record. I mean, those are considered kind of myth now because we know they exist. Somebody asked about the megalodon. I personally believe the megalodons are 100% real. whether there's a whole bunch of them out there versus maybe a handful just in the ocean. I'm sorry, we don't know we barely know anything about our oceans. To say definitively, oh, there can't be possibly how do you know? How do you know?
Yeah.
And
Ocean is huge.
if you're telling me that like we can put Elon Musk can fire a sports car into space and we accept that, but there can't possibly be a giant prehistoric shark in the deepest fathoms of the ocean. Like
Yeah.
that's where you draw the line, that there can't be
We
an
know more
actual
about we know more about deep outer space, like out there, way out of our own galaxy than we do about our own oceans of our own planet.
oh, for
So
sure.
I mean, there's so
And our
much that
thinking, our thinking, the scientists thinking, they do that, Ashley. This can't happen, that can't happen because of this and this. And all of a sudden, this creature comes up out of the depth, and they're like, there's no way it could live at that depth because it'd be crushed. But somehow it's not.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
it's all
I
the
know
time.
y'all saw that viral footage a few weeks back of that anglerfish coming up to
Mhm.
the surface, and
Mhm.
it made global news because anglerfish don't do that. And
Yeah,
I know this one kind of gets thrown out a lot, but it is true. What was it? The coelacanth, I
Yeah.
believe, who was once
yeah, the
thought to be
coelacanth, yeah.
that
Yeah,
they
they catch them and
found
eat them all the time.
off the
And it's
coast of
supposed to have been
Madagascar.
extinct for like millions of years.
Yeah,
So
Hmm.
yeah.
For sure. And so I recently was having, I won't say an argument, but a passionate conversation with somebody about this. And like, oh, the coelacanth, that was so long ago. And you only bring that up because you don't have anything new to bring up. And I like to remind people, especially people who claim to be coming from a scientific mindset, 50 years ago, 80 years ago, in scientific terms, that's nothing. That is
mhm.
absolutely nothing. So,
Right.
yes, we might have found the coelacanth, whatever it was, 80 years ago or whatever. That is recent. That is very recent in a scientific timeline. And so, one of my trips, or one of the parts about my trip to Scotland on that expedition, I had the privilege of, and oh my goodness, it's going to escape me. Wow, do you guys make everybody this nervous? Their brain just shuts off. Um, well, you don't, Amanda, but I got to go to this amazing fossil beach in Scotland, and um, right there on the ocean. And it was so neat, like even just outside of Nessie, to see all of these fossils, these rock. When I say rock formations, I mean the rocks. You could literally see the pattern, geographical patterns on the rocks in a way that would uh, like rings on a tree. Like it would imply some sort of timeline on these rocks, and just fascinating things. And I think yeah, like you said, Amanda, we know more about space than we do our very oceans. I
And
personally
didn't
think
they
that,
oh, sorry, did we
no, go ahead.
wasn't it you who was telling me that the beach that you went to was actually one of the ones that Adrien Shine used to go and walk to and
Yes,
stuff like
and
that? So
that's
that's
one of
really
the,
cool.
yeah, I literally I had to put it on my bucket list. So I gotta say, like a lot of the research I did on this trip wasn't just on the loch. I went and I interviewed people, I talked to people, I went to various places to try to get a bigger picture of it. To go to this beach that Adrian went as a naturalist, basically, who studied on that beach. So for Adrian's sake, he is a scientist who cared about the ecology and the ecological protection of Loch Ness. He was never a Loch Ness guy from the get go. He was a scientist. He was a young, enthusiastic man in the 70s, and Nessie was kind of getting a resurgence. And like, yeah, why not? Let's. Who's to say there's nothing in this lake? Let's go figure it out. He has since become kind of the face of the Loch Ness, of Nessie and Loch Ness, in the search for her. And in recent years, he's really kind of stepped away from that. For a lot of people, he's in it whether he wants, like Amanda knows, he's the guy whether he wants to be or not. But I will say,
Mhm.
that man has done so much for the community, not just for Nessie, because that's the part about the research, and I'm sure the same is for the Bigfoot. A lot of the research isn't out there necessarily, monster hunting. A lot of the evidence you collect is what's there, what's not there, what's normal, what's not normal, you got to get a baseline first and foremost. And that sometimes is the boring stuff.
Just like what we were talking about with Shane Corson the other night, all the boring stuff that they do with the data collection up there in the Olympic project. So I know some of the stuff that you shared with me, some of Adrian's research and stuff, it was very, very just boring, science stuff, but you have to have that data to go along with it. So yeah, share with everybody what that was. That's something super cool.
I don't know if everybody can see that. So a story within a story within a story. I can't even finish telling you guys one story without getting excited for the other. So on the first trip to Scotland, we tried very hard to meet Mr. Shine, and it just didn't work out. And so the second, my solo trip to Scotland, I made it a mission. I was not leaving Scotland until I got to meet Mr. Shine. And
And didn't
I won't go.
the team, the L&E team were like, "Gotta make sure that she gets it." So, like, even the center over there was like, "Oh, she's
Every,
American who's visiting. We gotta make sure she meets Adrian."
everybody on that trip was so kind and gracious and made sure, I mean, everybody made sure that things got pulled together for me as the American who came all the way to be a part of this, who I wasn't just a doofy tourist or a troublemaking American. I was there to research, and they knew that, and they took me under their wing, and a lot of people pulled a lot of strings to make sure that trip was just wonderful. And one of those was getting to meet Mr. Adrien Shine, which I'm I'm tearing up just even thinking about it. Like, yeah, he's just a scientific dude. He's not anything necessarily special, but for me who grew up watching him, like that was a dream come true to meet Mr. Shine and what he's done for the weirdo Nessie community and my people like me who love this.
That's cool.
And
Amanda and I have talked about the people that we've dealt with. If you show respect, show interest, and don't blast into it and kind of ease into it, and they see that you're really interested, they will share. Most of them will share and help you out.
Mhm.
But I mean, I don't know how many big names would. So that's to me. I'm tickled for you to get to experience that.
I would imagine, Amanda, it'd be very similar when you got to meet Mr. Gimlin. Like
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah,
it's just
definitely. I was just like, "Oh my goodness, this is the guy. I've seen him
the
on
guy.
every show and documentary and everything, here he is." I got to and I did, I completely, like, my foot in my mouth, and I completely was so excited to see him. I completely forgot to get a picture with him. I got back in line, and I said and they were like, "Wait, wasn't you here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, but I got excited and forgot. Can I take a picture with you?" So, yeah, how did you end up with some of the blue folders? So,
Yes.
how did you end up with those, and what are they?
So so a lot of people pulled some strings and I got to meet Mr. Adrian Shine. He gave me about an hour of his time. We met at the research center and he is every bit of, I hope he sees this. Hi Adrian, I hope you see this. I'll send this to some people. Make sure you see it. Like, it was such an honor to meet him, and he's just the same guy that you see, like everything you see on the TV shows and the documentaries is him. It's like there is no difference. And to be fair, he was a little kind of like Steve felt him. He was like, what, why do you care? Like, what, where are the hidden cameras? But and likewise, I was tongue tied, and even now, just telling the story, I'm losing my composure because it's like I could pick his brain about things, and um, I try to not keep it. I try to keep the conversation not necessarily all the way away from Nessie, but I wanted to be respectful of him and his time and the work that he's put in. We talked a lot about the ecology of the lake and his different thoughts on how it's developed over the years. And I was taking lots of notes myself to kind of think, okay, well, if this change happened at this, like, let's just say in the 60s or whatever, and now it looks like this in present day, what does that mean? And like, I was trying to take notes, and I told them, this is a lifelong dream of mine to meet you. Thank you so much for your time. I probably could have talked to him forever, but I was respectful of that hour time. And after we had left, that shook hands, got those pictures, I thought that was like, couldn't get any better. And as I was leaving the center, one of the ladies who worked there, I won't name names, but she got a hold of me and she's like, "Oh, wait, Adrien had left you this," and it was a care package for me, like my name on it and everything. And let's see, where'd it go? I got a copy of his book, his first book, with a lovely little note in it. And oh, Amanda, please, I need a minute to catch my breath. Tell them about, I called you, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever. I called you.
You called you she
Geeking out.
called me geeking, crying, like, "Oh my god, like, my dream just came true," and she was telling me about that, she's like, "And you're not gonna believe what he did." And he's like, "He gave me some of his original research notes from the
I
Wow.
don't,
80s."
I don't know if y'all can see this, but it's typed.
Yeah,
It's
it's typed on a typewriter, and it's some of
on a
the
Wow.
original stuff, and
typewriter.
I've looked through it with her, and it again, it's boring stuff. It's boring ecology stuff. It's about the water and about fish, ecology, what they eat, just boring day-to-day data. But again, it's all important data. And
So
it
fish,
was so cool the fact that, he cared enough about, your passion for the subject matter that he's like, you know what, I'm gonna share some of this
That
with
that
you.
just
And
shows
like
that just shows
that was
trust.
huge, just from an outsider's perspective, they're like, "Holy crap, he gave you that."
Right.
Was, that's just literally you lived a dream. You're
That
oh,
literally
just shows a
holding it in
level of
your
trust.
hand.
I,
I got a question.
yeah, yeah.
So, with all your research and people you talk to, do these things recreate, or is it a few things that have a really long life expectancy?
My personal opinion is that this is a breeding population. Unless, I mean, to be fair, sharks and whales live a remarkably long time.
Mhm.
In fact, just 2 years ago, there was a whale off the East Coast that was found with a harpoon in it that would have mean that this thing was well over 100 years old. Like,
Yeah.
i- is it possible that something can live a very long time, like a tortoise, a whale, whatever?
Yeah.
Absolutely. But for this specific creature, I do believe it's a breeding population. Um, and not, and to, again, not to complicate things, not necessarily because of anything found in Loch Ness, but what I found in Lake Okanagan and Lake Champlain has the stronger evidences to me to believe that these things are breeding.
That I mean, I think that was one of my questions from the books a long time ago was with Bigfoot and Nessie. First with Bigfoot, how do they have enough to eat? Well, now that I've found and talked to people, it's pretty easy. If you can support a grizzly bear, if an environment can support that, then
Multiple grizzly bears, nobody
right,
questions that.
exactly right.
Yeah.
So, because I've heard people, they'll laugh and they'll say, uh, how the dinosaur lived that long? I'm like, no, just never mind. I'm not going to get it.
I do think they live quite a long time as well. I think it's a mixture of both. But going back to my shoreline theory or
Mhm.
observation, whatever you want to call it, I think what's one of the reasons why um, one, they do come to shore that we are aware of. There's reports of that again with all the different lake monsters, not just one or the other. But if it is amphibious, it would have to come to shore to warmer, shallower waters to either raise its young, brood its young, whatever, lay eggs if it is, amphibious, whatever. And yeah, so that I think that's kind of where you would find it. Now the argument can be made, well, you can't just have one mommy, one daddy, and like there has to be a certain
Right.
number to sustain a population. So I personally think these things are probably they probably start out way smaller, and I don't think you reach the bigger sizes until you've gotten to a certain like age, I would think too. And again, if this is some kind of, let's just liken Nessie to like a crocodile or an alligator or something. We've all seen pictures on the internet or news stories. Those things can get massively big. And it doesn't necessarily mean like you could have one really big one, but then kind of more average size one. So it could be possibly too that what we are seeing more of are a bigger one, maybe a female. Females tend to be bigger in the animal kingdom a lot, versus maybe its mate isn't so big, and so yeah, you're only seeing one big one, but that's just another working theory that just because there is one big one doesn't mean that they all are that size.
Okay. So that video I sent you that I found that you'd already seen, was that in saltwater? Like the guys were fishing and they caught the video of just a glimpse. You remember that short clip that I sent y'all last night? Well, it was it looked like a charter fishing boat.
Oh, the come on, Range, spit it out, it's not yours. Yes, it was a champ. It was just a quick
Okay.
snippet on the local news story, some fishermen. I love that video. That kind of stuff just excites me. Because you can't tell what it is. They obviously caught something. Um,
Yeah.
hey, that's a great comment. Um, but yeah, no, and that's what I'm saying. That's why I get so excited. Just like Bigfoot, people are seeing something.
Hmm.
I guess as much as I want to talk about because we haven't got to the sonar clips that I got to be a part of, the nighttime investigations that I got to be a part of, the deep scan stuff that we got to be a part of, the scouting. We even had at one point during one of our nighttime expeditions, and that was the core team of Mr. Alan McKenna and myself, uh, Roland Watson, a very wonderful author, and he's the curator, if you will, of the Loch Ness blog. Just wonderful researchers and just people who are in it passionately, and friends that I talk to on a daily basis. Mr. Dave Hastings, another enthusiast just like me, we made this ragtag team of people, and we got to do these nighttime investigations where we had. I'll tell you what, I'm not particularly scared of the water. Like open waters never really scared me. I got freaked out on the shoreline at night when you realize we're going on a monster hunt. This thing could just pop up right in front of us. What do you do? But
It's like people
anyway,
when they're
so,
searching for Bigfoot, like, be careful what you ask for, it might show
Yeah.
oh
up.
we've talked about that. Like, do you want to see one? It's like, no, maybe. Like, I'm not opposed to it, but
It
like
depends. It depends. Like
no,
my Bigfoot sighting was far enough away, but it definitely was one that I don't have the scary story that some people do. So, but some of these stories that people have told me,
were you close enough to smell it, Roger?
no, no, no. I was like 170 yards, um, but it was about 30 seconds. But yeah, people always ask that. I think I might have smelled one time, but I can't, can't be sure.
Can't be certain. I
But
personally believe that I think anybody who goes out into the woods, I think people are having experiences whether they know it or not. If a Bigfoot wanted you to see it or didn't want you to see it, you would never see it. I think these things are smarter, faster, more capable, more flexible.
yeah,
I personally do subscribe to the woo aspect of things when it comes to Bigfoot. Not to take away from the flesh and creature aspect, but I'm a firm believer that two things can be true at the same time. And I think that's what
Mhm.
makes it such a paradoxical mystery. But I have a theory that if you are in the woods, you are always within like, and I'm being exaggerant here, but like you're always like within 50 feet of a Bigfoot, whether you know it or not. I feel like they're just always there. They would have to be, I would think.
Well,
Uh,
when you're talking about the water creatures, I go from my experience close to the dam down here in Alabama. They have 100-pound catfish laying under rocks. They'll go under and they'll sit there and as
they
food.
noodle, right?
Yeah, well, this is a little deeper than that, but some of them do. Um, there have been multiple reports of divers uh, diving and seeing these things, and they've caught a few. But I'm thinking, you know, it could hang out at night in a cave with air pockets or whatever, and come out, or in the daytime and then come out. So anyway, I don't know what I'm talking
Can I just
about.
selfishly say I've seen people like agree with me. I'm glad that's memorialized. I'm going to show that to a few people in my personal life. Be like, see, somebody agrees with me. I'm
You're
not
good.
crazy.
I've been doing that too since coming out. It's like, see, I'm not crazy.
Not crazy.
Well,
And yeah, Hillary here says, yeah, catfish as big as Volkswagen. Because I think me and
uh,
you talked about that, Roger, or somebody. About 90% sure it was with you. We've all
yeah,
had stories down here, and especially in the southeast, the lakes down here all have catfish as big as Volkswagens, and people who won't go into the lakes anymore, divers, because like I said, they get under those rocks, and something that big can still hide. So
right.
why can't something as foreign or unforeign or whatever as like you said,
Well,
we both still have the plesiosaur in our heart. How could she still not be hiding somewhere underneath there somewhere?
I think we were talking about, I can't remember what, I think it was the last time I was visiting you. We were at a lake, and I think the first thing I asked was, are there any catfish in there? Because I don't know why that scares me more than the thought of an ancient dinosaur. I don't know. Catfish kind of scare me. I don't know why.
They're weird. They're
they're
weird if you're
predators.
not used to 'em.
If you've ever
I
seen
hear they taste
catfish,
wonderful though.
a catfish can take in uh, animals and food so fast. They open that mouth and it sucks you in. Yeah, I don't I don't mess with them.
Wouldn't that be funny if we drained Loch Ness and it really just was a catfish? I can't even imagine. We joke about, what would we find if we actually drained the loch? And I think there's going to be some wild things at the bottom. But one of my favorite stories about that is a sonar ping that got this. I mean, it could not have been any more. I mean, clearly a Loch Ness monster. I mean, just the body, the neck, the everything. Oh my goodness! But it
The
wasn't moving
flippers, the
until.
whole works. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then people were scared. Like, did we just find the carcass? Is this the? I mean, it was national news. This is the one problem I have, and just in general, the older I get, I have more gripes with technology. But like, information travels so fast that I think it's almost a detriment, because before we even got the answer or the explanation, it's like there's all this buzz before we can actually figure out what's going on. And so if we would have just waited a few minutes to figure out what it was, it's like we wouldn't have as much egg on our face. So that
Mhm.
fun story was, it was literally an old high school parade float or high school parade,
I don't know.
yeah, and it was the Loch Ness Monster. It
Yeah,
just
it's
was some,
had the shape.
yeah, somebody just threw. Now, whether they did that deliberately, whether somebody was having fun, or maybe they just had to get rid of it, like I don't know why it ended up in the lake, but it did. Another really great story is, and I can't remember what channel, what documentary. I honestly never committed it to memory, but in recent years, they filmed a documentary in Loch Ness, and they built a very expensive, very good looking animatronic to get some shots. And while they did tell people, like they told people, they told They alerted the authorities. They alerted the boat captains, like, hey, we're filming this area. Like, they were not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. And still, that particular week, the sightings went through the roof at Loch Ness. And I don't know if it's true or not. I did hear a rumor that they did, at the end, after they were done filming it, tote this thing around to get a few scares out of people. I don't know if that's true or not. I feel like that there would have been legal action if they had done that. I don't know, but so yeah, there's probably a lot of crazy things at the bottom of that lake.
Well, like Hillary just said, I feel the same way. She wants to know where the bottom's at. She wants to put bubbles in her bathtub. She wants to see the bottom. Well, there's is another thing, like bringing this subject up and not knowing like the territory. And you've got some great pictures of the lake itself, and I couldn't get the video, and I don't have all of them, but I was just looking at it, and it's a real dark water, being that deep, and
Amanda knows where I'm going with that one. It's the
Yep.
peat. It's the peat moss. That lake is, even in the most beautiful sunny blue sky, it looks black.
okay,
At a distance, it's a black lake, and you get closer, it's actually a brown color. And I'm not going to do a horrible job of explaining this, but it's one giant bathtub of cold tea. It's that water, although dark and brown, you can actually drink it. It's 100% safe to
Oh, here we
drink.
go.
Um, it's a very unique ecosystem. I don't think there's anything quite like it in the world. It's 100% one of a kind, but that water is very dark. Even if you don't have a fear of the water naturally, like it, I can see how it would be a little bit more so, in that you can be just a few feet down and it just the sunlight just disappears.
yeah,
Even in the shallows, I don't know if I sent it to, there's me and I have my hand in the water, just like having a moment with the lake or whatever. But even in the shallows, it it's murky. And um, you know, out I don't even think a creature would need any particular type of great camouflage or coloring. I think just naturally that lake would hides a lot naturally.
see, I learned something.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we do this. Uh, it I did the same thing like I do with the Bigfoot stories. You sent me a bunch of things to watch. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm gonna do
Sorry.
this the same way. No, I'm like, I'm gonna do the same way and let you tell us. So, because I want to hear it for the first time. Some of it I've heard, but some of it may be junk that came out 30 years ago too. So.
No such thing. I think there's room for every opinion, whether it's Bigfoot, Loch Ness, whatever, because again, we're all just enthusiasts. We're all trying to find out what these things are. For me, Nessie has always represented just a fabulous mystery of just the spirit of adventure, that there's still many things out there left to find and claim. Again, a connection to historical, like, are we that separated from, is the past really all that ancient as we are often led to believe that it is? If we, so, and my personal theory, only my personal theory, I've not, the only person I think I've ever shared this with truly is you, Amanda, but I think we could find the Loch Ness Monster a lot easier. I mean, we have, technology is just so advanced now. I think, let me put it this way. I've often been told, oh, well, the Loch Ness Monster is just a tourist trap, oh, she's just there to sell plushies and merchandise. That's all it is. There's nothing in that lake. I personally think the reverse is true. I think that there is something in that lake. I came and I'll get to that story of how we came close to finding that thing. But I know that I know that I know there's something in Loch Ness. I have seen too much. I have experienced too much. Um, I've talked to people. There is something in that lake where I think the controversy is I don't think Scotland in general wants it to be found, because you do then lose the tourism aspect. If once we know what it is, because as long as we don't know, you can sell your cute little Disney cute plushies, or it can be a terrifying beast, or it can be anything you want it to be. So I'm not saying that so eloquently because I'm a little bit scared to say that, because again, I mean, no disrespect to my fellow researchers. I'm not giving up the research on it. I'm still going to be looking and on the hunt, and I'm hoping to join another expedition very soon. Like I said, I plan on going to Vermont here and to do stuff with Champ. I go up to Lake Okanagan regularly. I do what I can in this field, but I do think that one of the reasons why these things are so hard to find is the lack of support. It is just a bunch of individual enthusiastic people who come together and make that effort, but we don't have a lot of help.
Mhm.
We're kind of on our own to prove, disprove, find. I hope I
I've got
said
a
that well.
question. I've got a
No,
question.
that's absolutely perfect. You put all of that into a perfect box because, like I
Yeah.
said, everything that you just said, you put that about Bigfoot, and it's the exact same thing.
Yeah. When
100%.
you're talking about proving and this, my mind runs off. Something hit me. Now, this might be cruel sounding, but has anybody ever discussed, like here, the PWRA wants to go test the lake and see what in there? They'll go send electrical shock down, and the things that float to the top, that count. I believe everything's okay. They're not killing anything. Has anybody ever thought about that technique?
As far as Loch Ness,
Yeah.
um,
I know it sounds cruel.
I, I've only heard of it spoken in a joking
Yeah,
context. Like, but who's to say that somebody hasn't proposed that? There are plenty of meetings and plans that I'm not a part of, because I mean, there's so many different researchers out there, not just Eleni or Alan or Andy or Steve, or there's so many more people out there, and some people just kind of come out on their own too. Um, I think I think if something like that were to happen, it would have to be on a smaller scale. I don't think you would start out at Loch Ness unless it was, and I hate to use this term, but that to me sounds more like a promotional stunt. And if you happen to find something, great, but I think that would be like, we're going to do this and hopefully find something kind of thing.
yeah,
Um, I would like to, if something like that were to happen, I think experimenting on a smaller scale to see if it even if it would work, because I think the water mass, I mean, you would have to be a very strong electrical
right.
charge
And
for
that's what
something
I'm
that
saying.
large.
I'm thinking you would have to be so strong, anything closer but might hurt. Because I'm all
And if
about
it's an ear lodger, it might be immune.
it. Could be, could be,
That is true.
yeah.
Uh,
But I saw the state here one time at one of our local lakes, and that's what they were doing. I was talking to them. I'm like, well, they kill the fish. And they're like, no, it's they'll come back around. So whether that's true or not, I don't know.
yeah. Well, and all I do, and that's the thing. Like, I'm pretty open-minded when it comes to all these paranormal things, and I think everything is up to discussion. Everything, even the stuff I don't necessarily agree with or I have issue with,
Mm,
we need to be open to the discussion. And like I said, one of the things about this whole thing is bridging that community between the Bigfoot and the Nessie people, or the dog man people and the Bigfoot people, or the, whatever. There's so many cryptids out there and everybody has their favorites. I mean, like, I get personally annoyed with the Mothman people, but that's, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That's a joke. But everyone kind of latches on to that one thing, and we're all on the same team. Like or like, how do I say this? a sport, like let's just say you're really into baseball or whatever, we can all agree the love of the sport, whether you're rooting for this team or that team or whatever. Like we all agree that it's the same thing that we're looking for and are passionate about. And um yeah, I think the similarities between both camps are greater than we realize, and I think the conversations are worth having. And I personally like the idea of the technology link. So, example, one of the things we used during our expedition was oh, I'm going to missay it. Thermal camera. So like they're binoculars, but they see in heat patterns. So like uh, we had we were able to view the loch at night, and the different colors painted a visual of the loch. So you had the heat of the earth that had been, warm all throughout the day, right? The loch, which was pretty cool in comparison. But even then, the top layer of the lake was, I'm hiding under my name, so I got to do this. Um, the top layer of the lake was obviously warmer than just even a few inches below, and just a few inches below. You could actually see the color difference. And then even the night sky had a color. So it paints this, like you're looking out into the dark, but now it's all lit up in a way that really makes sense. And every once in a while we would get a fish or something jumping,
Mhm.
and it was so vivid. Like honestly, you could just have somebody posted there all night, just scanning. And come to find out, and I can't remember if I was talking to you, Amanda,
Mm.
or who I was talking to, but the same binoculars we were using for that expedition are known Bigfoot equipment, like to have the
Mhm.
same thing, to be able to stalk in the forest. So
And the same, I'm not stuff over. Yeah, in the same way that some of the equipment that is used in the Bigfooting world is also used in the ghost hunting world. Same equipment. The audio
recordings for
equipment, the
EVPs, yeah,
EVPs, yeah, all of that kind of stuff. So even in just the research or I mean, how things are researched. I mean, there's so many similarities in all these different camps.
the same way you
And
interview an eyewitness. You ask the same, not necessarily the same question over, but like when I'm interviewing witnesses when it comes to water monsters, it's not like you're not believing people. You're not trying to necessarily interrogate anybody, but you want to make sure that the information lines up. So I know
Mhm,
for me, I tend to ask the same question just in different ways. And if the answer is coming back the same, I know that it's has more of a credibility to it than just well, I don't know. Or I said three in this, but then I said five in that. And it's like, okay, well, is it three or five? You develop similar techniques, I think.
mhm.
I like the crossover use of different equipment that's used, like say paranormal investigators. I feel like I know we have some people in this community, Mary Brown and some others, that they take the paranormal equipment out to the Bigfoot woods with them and testing that side of things too. And I think they've had some success with it. But that scares me, that part.
And so the first trip to Scotland, when Amanda and so we were planning, and it's a shared vacation. And so it's like you want to make sure that it's not just all one thing or another. You want to share your experience and make sure everybody gets to kind of do a little bit of what they want to do. And I remember in the very early phases of this vacation, it's like, okay, what do you want to do? And it was a phone call. It was Amanda and I. Amanda's husband was in the background, and her and I are talking, and I just said, no, I don't want to, I do not want to go on a ghost tour. I don't want to go on any haunted nothing.
Right,
Like, I don't want to bring back any bad juju. Like, I don't mind going to a cemetery per se, because
right.
I think those can be quite
I actually
lovely.
like cemeteries. I find them most
Same.
of them peaceful. If I ever get a bad juju from it, it's like instantly before you get there, like, yeah, no, I'm not
No,
that one.
yeah.
But
Right.
But like
we all tease all
deliberately,
the time that the Appalachians here, especially, are so old because they are part of the Scotland and the
yeah,
Highlands.
they broke
But
off.
and obviously some of the natives have their stuff, but like as me and you've talked before, there's old stuff over there. So we were not going to mess with anything. We wasn't going to bring anything home with us that wasn't supposed to be. We didn't want to mess with any of the old magic, for lack of a better word.
100%. And I said nothing haunted. And I can't remember if I was on speakerphone, but when your husband says, "It's Scotland, the whole place is haunted." It's so old.
Probably. Yeah. He did. I remember that. He's
That
like,
is
the
like
whole place is haunted.
the whole place is haunted. And I mean, he's kind of right, but still. And then this has nothing to do with cryptids or paranormal or anything, but one of my favorite stories about our trip was the mechanic crow up in the
Oh,
air.
yes. The crow.
Yeah, total touristy thing. It's a historical, it's a castle part of this building that's been around for at least 500 years. It's very old, and they've redone the inside just enough where it's safe for people to be in, but it was a historical climb. So each floor you go up this tower was like a different historical part of Scotland. They even had some stuff about Nessie in there too. And then
Mhm.
you get to the very top. It took like 30 minutes, 40 minutes maybe. I mean, it took a
I think
long
so,
time
yeah.
to get up there. And at the very top, there's this mechanical crow, and I don't remember necessarily the legend about the crow, but you could feed it a quarter or something, and it would part wisdom or just a part of the
I
fable
think
or
that's what it
whatever,
was. Yeah, it would give you like a tidbit of wisdom or something
something.
to that effect.
I wasn't trying to get anything from this crow, but like I did something. I touched it or patted it, and it gave me some wisdom. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of fun. And as we left, I got this sinking feeling. I'm like, Amanda, I need to. You're gonna think I'm crazy, but I need to go back and give that crow a quarter. I did not pay for that, and I feel
Mhm. Yeah,
something's
it
not
was definitely like
right.
this weirdo, like when a Furby goes off and it's not
Yeah,
supposed to. It's like how that crow ended up going off on us and it wasn't supposed to. We're like, yeah, we need to feed the crow
do
just
Well,
y'all
to
we
be on
went.
remember?
the safe side.
Do y'all remember Tickle Me Elmo and had Ernie and had
Yeah.
Bert and
Mhm.
all that? My son had Ernie, and after the divorce, I had them a lot, but they were gone one night. I was sitting there by myself, and Ernie started talking in the room by himself. I threw him out in the yard and locked the door.
Good.
I'm like,
Yeah.
no, yeah, ain't gonna listen to
Those
that.
those Furbies are vessels, man. I don't necessarily see one and like immediately get scared. I don't think they're all evil all the time, but they're vessels. I think
Vessels 100%.
they're just those so look the shark's eyes, like you were saying the
Yeah,
other day, like
It
just
is like
like
a doll's eyes.
yeah, yeah, literally. Well, what's funny is so like we paid admission to get to the top of that tower. We did it. We did the touristy thing, was totally fine. We left, and then like 5 minutes later, Amanda, and this is why Amanda is my bestie. Like I told her, I'm like, this is gonna sound crazy, but I need to go back and feed this thing. And not once was it, "Oh, you're crazy," or what, really? Oh no, like what? She was like, yep, just no questions asked. We walked back to the tower, talked to the attendants, if you will. I don't know if they were security guards or just attendants, but hey, we just went through this. The crow talked to me. I didn't feed it, but we're not trying to get in. We're not. I literally just, and I held up the coin. I'm like, I just need to go give the crow this quarter. They laughed, but not in a mean way. I think they were
Mhm.
amused, but they let us. They're
like
like
they knew something.
they let us back in, and
But
they
Yeah, the Scots, they know about the paranormal, which I think has a lot to do with the parallels here in Appalachia. They're like, yeah, no, we got you, girl. You go
yeah,
take care of you and
yeah.
the crow.
They like I said, they laughed a little bit. I think just, but there was maybe reverence isn't the right word, but yeah.
it was
And
a
back to
it was a probably a what I call a knowingly laugh, a knowing laugh,
Yeah, a
where they're
knowing laugh.
like,
There it is. That's
we
perfect.
understand. Go ahead.
yeah. And we did. I like, thank you, Mr. Crow. Here's your shiny, and thank you so much. And we're good. I felt better. But to Amanda's point, and I think it's really important for our audience too. Again, so one of my favorite jokes about Appalachia is, if you're in the Appalachia woods and you heard your name, no, you did not. Like
Yeah,
it is old and it is ancient, and for it to have broken off as a landmass from the Scotland. In fact, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but when we were at uh, Skara Brae the first time around, it's that, like, for lack of better wording, like that magical feeling.
Mm-hmm. It really was. You felt that you were in someplace old. You felt, like I said, I hate to use the word magic,
Magic. I know.
but
I
yeah,
know.
you really could feel it tangibly in the air, the energy that was there, for the vibration or whatever.
Vibration,
You
frequency,
the
100%.
frequency, yeah, and which is actually a lot of the stuff that is talked about in the woo aspects of Bigfoot is actually a lot of the woo stuff that suspect I can't talk, good lord. The same woo stuff that me and you have discussed in regards to Nessie and other water monsters.
Hmm.
Well,
Because
we
that's the same
know.
woo stuff with Dogman and everything. So they said there's all these synchronicities and there's all these connections between these cryptids once you really start looking into it. That's why you got to get your head out of the water. For says we're talking about water monsters, you got to get your head out. Be open minded to there's different things out here, and they can be connected in ways.
Well, what's interesting to me is I agree with every bit of that. And to your point earlier, when I go somewhere like you're talking about, I feel the history.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just, it's a good feeling actually. It draws me in. But the the this information we're having to relearn over and over and over. I want to know why, and not only. Oh, hold on, sorry.
That's my ringtone too.
Yeah, we. So what was I saying? So, oh, it's not only everything's connected, but why are we all connected? Why are the people in chat connected? What's drawing us into
Mhm.
all of this? That's the side of it to me that I'm interested in also. How are we
I
connected?
I agree 100%. Yeah, there's people in chat here that I have met through other channels of my own,
Mhm.
on, like, my other social media, Amanda the Bigfoot Lady socials, and then recently at the conference and everything, and then, I've met them here in chat, like, somehow or another, all these connections have happened, me and you, Roger, how me and you connected, I just
Yeah,
was a guest on your show, and
yeah.
now this is what my, like, 4th or 5th time I've been co-hosting with you,
And
so
it seems natural because,
it
um,
does.
I mean, and that's
Find your
Amanda,
tribe.
if you get to
Yeah,
meet
find
these
your
people in
tribe.
here well, if you get to meet these people here, the ones I've met, it's the same way in person. That you've never met them before, and you give them a big hug, and you sit and talk to them for hours, and I don't I don't get that anywhere else. I don't, especially not Walmart. I get road rage in Walmart, inside Walmart.
Right?
I think I rather jump into the depths of Loch Ness in a bikini than hug a stranger at Walmart,
It's
especially
Or
funny.
my
have them
Walmart.
or have them rearrange the aisles or anything, rearrange it for you,
Pe
something.
but but the people there the customers are so mad, they're so unhappy.
It's not a happy
It's
place. No.
not.
The energy is just off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
Bad
I think,
juju.
from a Christian standpoint, that could be your discernment, is you're just feeling, just the vibes are off.
The vibes are off. Now
yeah.
that's a conspiracy theory. Could you imagine, like, uh almost like a Denver airport type thing where it's like old Walmarts are built on ley lines and it's just like some ancient.
Well, I know the one down the road here in Canton is built on top of an Indian burial mound, so, there's
Oh, that's
that.
right. I remember that. Isn't that the nice one too? I think isn't the
Kind
nicer,
of. It was where me and,
or am I thinking of
um
Jasper?
I can't remember. To you, bless your heart, darling. They're all nice to you, aren't they?
They are. They are. I
But no,
live
it's
more in the
right there where
boonies
we
than
get the
she
nail
does,
salon.
believe it or not. What was that, Amanda?
I said it was where we went to the nail salon.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's how you can tell we're girls. We're like, oh yeah, that's where we went
Well,
to the nail salon
Salon.
and we
so
we went shopping at the Walmart.
Yeah.
so I'm gonna guess, just a guess, that the first time you ever two met, you just knew. Was it quick connection?
Extremely quick
Yeah.
connection. Like what within like instantly. So yeah, jumping off the cryptid bandwagon. So yeah, it's crazy synchronicity. I'm from Georgia. Ashley's from Washington State.
You couldn't get any
We
further
you
away.
couldn't be on two opposite sides of the United States. Um, both of us our families, us had moved to North Dakota in 2014, and both of our families got jobs in the oil field. And Ashley and I just happened to be working for the same oil company up there. We both worked in the same office,
Clerical,
and
yeah.
we knew each other as coworkers off and on. Because
Hi,
I worked
bye,
front
super
high and by super, because we both worked like what 3 or 4
pleasantries.
cubicles from each other. And one
Mhm.
day I was happened to be walking by her counter because we had already been randomly talking. Like I knew like she was into some of the same stuff. Like I forget how it came up, but like we were talking about the TV show
Pictures on my
Arrow.
wall. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
I had the nerd stuff out.
yeah, you had some of yours, and I had a little bit there at my desk. And anyway, you actually had a picture that your husband had drew of Godzilla from was it 2014? He
2014.
drew
Yep.
Yeah, he drew apparently he drew y'all's cat to look just like that movie
The
poster.
movie
And I was like,
poster.
"Is that Godzilla?" And you're like,
And
and your face was just like, first you were mortified, and then you were like, "Oh my god, this person knows." And it was just the most face that you had. And yeah, we instantly we connected instantly, and even within a few conversations, we started talking about, our similar interest, ghost and paranormal, all that kind of
Right.
stuff, came up right away. And I
right
think
away.
you actually were one of the very first ones I ever told that, hey, I actually had a Bigfoot sighting. And you're like, oh my God, really? And I had to go back, and that I'm still so thankful to this day that my brother, we went and put our report on the internet on that one
That
website. So I can
website.
still go back and see it and be like, this actually happened to me. So yeah, that's how our connection worked. And it's been amazing. Thank you. Um, it's been amazing almost looking at it from an outsider standpoint, even for looking at myself, that, you and I, Ashley, we've both have grown into our passions. Here I am now. I'm Amanda the Bigfoot lady. I happen to have a job at a Bigfoot museum. One of the only ones in Georgia happens to be right down the road from where I'm at, and I work
One of
there
the
now.
best in the country.
And
A
then
lot of people.
we have a passion for Nessie and the Loch Ness Monster, and you just happen to make these connections with Alan and the LNE team, and now here you are actively doing research in that field. So it's amazing to see, just two random girls who met each other in the oil fields in North Dakota from two opposite sides of the world. And we're best friends, and we're living the dream now because we've opened up about our passions. We've opened up about odd um our odd dreams of, things. We, like I said, we found our tribe by
Find
coming
our
Yeah.
about. And
tribe.
it's the same way. The more, and that's what I said. I think I said that recently at the conference, that the more I personally have opened up about, Bigfoot and cryptids and paranormal and all these crazy tinfoil hat theories, the more people I've actually found who think the same as I do. And the more and more that we can keep talking, like in just small little shows like this, just sharing our thoughts and opinions and different podcasts and things like that, the more that people are realizing, we're not alone. You're not the only one who thinks like that. You're not the crazy person. There are people out there with even more crazy theories than we are. And yeah, Girly here says, yeah, it's actually nice to see women in research, and that's a discussion that you and I have actually had quite often.
100% we've talked about that, and it's like, so outside of you being my best friend, Amanda, like one of the things I love, I'm her biggest fan. There's a line, people can fight me. I am her biggest fan. And one of it is like, again, totally take off the table that she's my best friend, rose tinted colored glasses off for a second. It is so refreshing to have somebody who is just, and similar to you too, Roger, but from a female perspective, somebody who's out there who's not trying to sell anything, push anything. Um, they're not trying to necessarily market themselves as the product, because that's if I'm being honest, my biggest pet peeve with especially the Bigfoot community, a little bit the dogman community now, is the personalities themselves out of the researchers or whatever you want to call them outshines the actual search for the subject matter.
100%.
And that's what when I first started doing this, and I started meeting some really good people with the smaller shows, that's what we talk about all the time. We don't have something all the time for everybody, but when we have something, it's legit. So what we do, some of us think about, okay, the different parts of this. We talked about the commercialization of everything, but what that did was make it more acceptable, for people to talk about.
Mhm.
Also, you've got people that are making a living at this, and that's okay. As long as Amanda and I did a show the other day, as long as you know what you're watching, that's fine. But um, with the small shows like this, we can get without offending anybody. I'm a regular Joe. Get the regular Joe or Joanne on the show and let them have a voice and get their story out there to pay it forward. Because when you said, Ashley, you said something about the podcast, I typed it out. I don't know if you saw it. That's how I got started. I listened to a random Bigfoot podcast at work, contacted the guy that was a guest, and I was gushing. It was coming out so fast because I finally had somebody to listen, and I was like, "Don't hang up, don't hang."
But wait, there's
So,
more.
but if that had happened 10 years prior, I don't think I was ready. I think the timing has to be right. You two came
Mhm.
together at the right time. Me and Greg and a lot of people, David, and I want to leave people out, but it was the right timing. So I've always believed nothing happens by accident, and it
Mhm.
happens when it's supposed to, when you're ready. So,
Absolutely.
For sure.
but
And like,
Blaylock here, he lives in Oregon. He's the one that saw the pterodactyl. Yeah,
Who was?
David
yeah, who?
and Chad
Oh,
here.
David? Okay.
Yep, he's got a story about pterodactyl.
Cool.
Uh,
Yeah. And David, if I have met you or run into you or have met you more, I sincerely apologize. I am
no,
terrible with names and faces. So I don't know if I've met you or not, or if I've heard your story, but I'm going to go and try to find it somewhere. Or you maybe connect with me afterwards. I would love to hear your story.
but so we've been on for 2 hours and 18 minutes,
Oh, wow.
and it don't seem like it.
No.
But here's what I'm going to propose. I know y'all are interested in every kind of cryptid or whatever. Y'all get together. Um, if you want to plan something, we can do it later. Um, just come up with a subject, and we'll do shows like this in between the Bigfoot stuff because, like you said, we need to talk about it. And to people that here's the way I was. I don't know if I told y'all, but I said if I had never seen a Bigfoot when I was 14, I would have believed the Nessie story before I would have believed Bigfoot. You know, and because that happened, then it set me to like at least accepting, listening to what's real, what else is real. And then I saw the UFO like 3 years later, maybe. And I told y'all that was just a mind blowing experience.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I don't know why this stuff has happened to me, but there's a reason.
I feel like it snowballs too. I think once you've had one encounter, it's very rare that I've talked to anybody who's had only just one. I feel like when you've had one, I don't know if it opens you up or if it just, I, I don't know. I've heard theories about it depends on your blood type. I've heard it depends on whether you're a saved Christian or not, as far as like actually accepting Christ into your heart. I've heard so many wild things, and Roger, we didn't even scratch the surface. I
I
mean,
know.
you could talk about aliens as in extraterrestrials, or I personally like interdimensional, my theory, or aliens or demons. I mean, I mean, that's just aliens. We only scratched the surface when it comes to Nessie. I mean,
Yes.
we didn't even get to the woo. We didn't get to Aleister Crowley and his nonsense. Like, there's a
Yeah, the
lot there.
quartz theory, I think is
Court
crazy.
theory.
Yeah,
Oh
there's
yeah.
so much there. I remember asking Steve that when he was there, and he was like, he didn't go into much of it. I could tell the wheels were turning, so that was
The
cool.
the wheels were turning for sure.
Let
And then
Go ahead.
um oh no, I was just gonna say, like, it's funny. So I had the sighting of what I thought was a lake monster when I was a kid. It wasn't. It was a log. It's a whole other little story itself. Um, and then when I was in Scotland the second time, we were doing night research. I have the video. I think I sent it to you, and we heard this huge, huge splash. And by the time I could get the camera over, it was just ripples. And it's like, you got to be kidding me. I waited my entire life, and
That's the way that
I mean, not saying it was Nessie, but was it? I can't tell me it wasn't because we don't know, right? So we've had all.
Mhm.
I've seen UFOs. In fact, we saw a strange light that night at Loch Ness. That the picture's extremely blurry, but there's a whole story about that. How we couldn't get it on to show on camera, except this one candid shot that we weren't even trying to get it because we gave up on it. Saw a UFO landing in Scot, or I guess it would be England technically because there was a layover. Our flight literally did a loop-de-loo to avoid this thing. It was crazy. On the way to Scotland, I saw a knot deer. I mean, everything but Nessie, ironically. But like, there's so many little things, and I think having those people that you can talk to, like Amanda, every time, Amanda, this is what I saw. Oh my goodness, talk
Mhm.
me off this ledge. And I think
Yeah.
it's good to talk about those kinds of things. And
Well, it's
like
good to
like
have
you guys,
somebody to do that with because I haven't told everything. Greg hasn't told everything. Spencer, we if we told everything that were maybes, we would sound crazy. But
yeah,
uh, if we
yeah,
do take time to tell a story, it's we're pretty sure, So it's,
for
but
sure.
I definitely am open to exploring more into this and tying into other cryptids and other legends or whatever. Y'all, I've wanted that to be part of this show from the start. I couldn't do it by myself, so if y'all are willing to help and plan stuff, I'm all for it. Um, you know, yeah,
Let
because
me
we have a group that's only Bigfoot, and we have a group that's the combo that's had a lot of stuff happen, like you said. Now, before we go, I want to do something, and it's gonna be quick. I promise to give away a hat, but here's how I'm gonna do it. Y'all, I've got one available. It's brand new. If you're interested in that hat, I'm gonna make y'all work a little bit. P.O. Box 43, Cornersville, Tennessee 37047. April 15th is the cutoff date. I'll check the P.O. box up until then. Anybody that sends me a note that says, I want the hat, I'll put your name in a fishbowl, pull it out live on the show, and that's how you get it. Because me and David almost messed up. We pick a number between 1 in 25,000, and it was tough. So I'm gonna let you guys let me know if you want it or not, and then I'll ship it to you for free. So now got that done, and
Clever.
it's only gonna be done on this show, no other show. So anyway, so I want to wait till the end. All right, Amanda,
Mhm.
thank you for introducing us because um,
Yeah, glad I could be the conduit for
or
you
did
two
you?
guys to meet up.
Well,
This was
yeah,
fun. This
I
was
think
wonderful.
Ashley contacted me actually, but
Well, I guess through me, I guess. I don't know.
I can't. Yeah, I can't remember y'all. So Amanda the Bigfoot Lady on TikTok.
Mhm.
Check her out. Subscribe. She has a channel
Oh,
on
and
YouTube.
also, if I could shout out, thank you, Roger and the Squatch and Holler family. I am now above 100 something subscribers here on YouTube, so now I can start doing my own lives, and will be able to share a lot of my TikTok videos onto YouTube, so that way everybody can see on people who are not just on TikTok. So
And
working on that.
the way this works, StreamYard, I pay for a subscription. So once you get several more subscribers, I can do a show, and then you can share it to your channel to maybe pick up
Mhm.
some more subscribers as it goes. So Ashley, I feel bad because we didn't scratch the surface, but uh,
That just means there's more to, I mean, that's the
yeah,
fun of it, though.
it
And
is.
I
that
want to
just
pick your guys'
goes to
brains on
prove how
Bigfoot
much information there is out there that still is to share.
for
Well,
sure.
y'all can add another dimension to this show that I've always wanted uh, because of your research skills, stuff you already know, and I believe the audience will appreciate maybe like one a month or something like that. So
That'd be cool.
yeah, just y'all brainstorm. Let me know what it is, and we'll do it.
Well, thank you for having me. This was fantastic. It was fun. I can't believe it's already like 2 hours didn't,
I
Yeah,
know,
2.5 hours. Where did that go?
I
yeah, it
know,
doesn't feel like that, but
but
thank you.
and two, Ashley, if you want to look at other small channels that do the same thing, I'll send you some show names and stuff. Then you can go look at them. But anyway, y'all, Eric, see, Eric, Erica, and Blackie, Chad. I met them at the Tennessee Wildman Conference. I had a table set up. Heather and I did, and they talked to me and Greg for an hour probably, and they've come in, they've been welcomed in, and you just become part of the group. And most everybody's just we're just mostly the same, I guess. Hardly any egos. Thank you, Flat Rock. Hey, Flat Rock right there.
Yeah, I got to
Leo.
meet Mr. Flatrock in person at the conference the last 2 weekends ago. He's a good dude.
That's okay, Donna. Y'all, there. Listen, Thursday night. I've mentioned this to Amanda. Thursday night's a big night for shows. We're going up against a lot of big shows right now in this town.
Yeah, that's it. Everybody who's been reaching out to me has been saying, "Can you do Thursday?" I'm
This,
like, kind of busy on Thursdays now.
well, if we can change it to Wednesday, like,
I'd be fine with that.
yeah. So we're not going to do a
Now
show
let us
tomorrow
know in the
night.
comments what y'all think about doing Wednesdays.
Yeah,
Wednesdays would
instead
work.
of
Does that work
Thursday.
with you guys too?
To be fair, I'm nodding my head as somebody who watches the show. I'm like, yeah, I can tune in on Wednesdays. That works for me.
But let's see if there's anything else. I think I had something, but I lost it. See, Nashville, it's okay. We don't. We're not professionals. But anything, Amanda, before we go?
Not that I could think of off the top of my head. Again, just thanks to everybody for coming and hanging out and listening to us. and glad that I got to introduce my best friend to everybody. And hopefully we can come back maybe for a part 2 so she can share more of some of the Loch Ness research that's going on and some of the cool thoughts, ideas, and theories that go behind it. Because again, they connect to a lot of the Bigfoot stuff too, so it's very fascinating.
Yeah, we got people in the chat. It's hardly any days open, any night. So
Mm,
I do want to mention this to everybody. Next Monday night, same time, at
yes,
7
I'm so
Central,
excited for this one.
Flash of Beauty, Jill Redmond Snyder, it's going to be on. And Amanda, I'm sure you're going to be there, maybe if you can make it.
I'm gonna try my darned hardest to be there for sure.
And I
I
think
got
that'll
it
be
on my
fun.
notifications.
Hey, you can send pictures. We'll show it. But y'all all know about the Flash of Beauty series. It's one of the best out there right now. So
It
uh,
is.
it'll it'll be fun, I think. Well, lady, thank you very much.
Well, thanks for having us, Roger.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. This I had fun and learned some things.
Awesome. That's what we intend to do, is to educate.
Educate and open conversation.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Well,
Absolutely. Yeah. Open conversation is so big.
that just leads to other things, open mind and open conversation. All right,
Yes,
everybody.
Carl. Cajuns are allowed. Everybody's allowed. Skeptics, knowers, believers.
So tonight was the first time that we've been live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch at the same time.
Oh, nice.
Uh, I
I
don't
did
think
not know that.
we're not getting any traffic on Twitch because it's younger. I thought, well, just put it out there anyway. And
You never
Facebook,
know. You
that's
never
right.
know.
That's right. All right. Good night, y'all.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Thank y'all for being
Bye.
here.
Bigfoot caught on video.
What the crap? What was that? Did you see that? Yes. Holy crap. What the heck was that? That was on 2 feet, wasn't it? Yeah. Oh my goodness. I thought I was seeing things, actually. Oh my goodness. Please tell me we got that on audio, video.